an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Order, honorable members. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to the Minister in Cluster 5, Economics. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose as supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. Honorable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you that question number 911 was approved as an urgent question for today's question session in terms of Rule 141. Subsection 1. As a result, the question will take precedence over all other questions. The question has been asked by the Honorable GKY Kachalia to the Minister of Public Enterprise. The Honorable the Minister.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, and good afternoon, honorable members. And thank you to Honorable Kachalia for the question. The question has 2 essential parts, Chairperson. The first is, have we taken any steps to find funds to ensure that Eskom can purchase more diesel in order to keep the electricity going as much as they can? And secondly, what are the relevant details about the initiatives that we have taken? So the answer simply is, firstly, yes, we have taken steps to find funding. And the details are as follows. Firstly, as a matter of urgency, both the Minister of Finance and myself talked on Sunday evening about where money could be found. Secondly, there was a meeting between my delegation and the Minister of Finance's delegation on Monday morning, where a number of hours were spent. Firstly, understanding what are some of the crises that are being faced by Eskom, which involves not just diesel, but the kind of disruption that Eskom is confronting, both in the sense of malfeasance, but also the question of reliability of its plants, which I'll come back to. A number of options were identified. Those options are currently being evaluated by the Treasury team, and we expect a response soon in respect of the particular option or set of options that the Finance Minister thinks we should pursue. The second element, Chairperson, is that for the whole of yesterday, the DPE itself has been liaising between Eskom and Petro SA to find a way within the limited resources that Eskom currently has to have immediate availability of diesel. In this respect, by the evening and this morning, 50 million liters of diesel have been found, have been provided by Petro SA. Some of those liters travel by pipeline, some by truck, depending on which OCGT plant they are due for. And we will discuss further, both with the Minister of Mineral and Energy and the Minister of Finance, how the next consignment can be made available. Thirdly, the board is currently looking at what needs to be done in respect of the generation side of the Eskom business. As you know, a number of plans were developed, as the President announced on the 25th of July, to ensure that generation becomes a lot more stable and that the current plant offers the optimal amount of energy possible. But clearly, not enough has been done in this particular regard. So the board has been occupied with meeting power station managers. We've discussed a particular target in terms of load shedding until there's enough megawatts in our system by next year and the years to follow. And we will get some definitiveness about the steps that the board is suggesting in relation to stabilizing generation by next week. Law enforcement has a critical role to play, Chairperson, because Eskom operates within an ecosystem that is seriously contaminated with various efforts made to provide, for example, poor quality coal. And there's a recent example from last week where a consignment of rock and stone was delivered to the Majuba power station. And once that gets into the power station through the conveyor belt, we will have a destruction of the mills. In respect of finance, and this is my last point, clearly the unreliability of our generation plant is hampering efforts to provide greater stability and certainty to the country. The inadequacy of maintenance, the corruption, as I said, in coal, in fuel oil, and in parts provision, amongst other things, and more breakdowns mean that more diesel has to be utilized. It is in that context that Eskom has run out of cash that it had budgeted for, which is some 10 billion rands for this year. By the 17th of November, it had reached 14.7 billion rands in terms of its actual requirements at this point in time. So we continue to engage with the Treasury, and later this week, we hope we can resolve the question of access to funds more definitively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Y. Kachalia.
Thank you, Chair. Anyone with half a brain could have seen that this crisis at Eskom has been long in the making, and the minister and his government have had years to address it. But what have they done? They've overseen year after year of increased load shedding, changed boards, set up committees and task teams, all to no avail. We are now, by Eskom's own admission, in the most parlous state, having spent its entire diesel budget in 6 months. And if this does not represent a crisis, then I and millions of South Africans simply don't know. A crisis Mr. Gordhan has presided over. Now that the lights flicker while the president sups with the king in England, will the minister be prepared to invoke the National Security Act and the National Key Points Act, not least to save monies for diesel, and certainly not to keep oversight out, as he has done to Mr. Steenhuisen this morning at Kusile, but to allow the utility to be fixed without let or hindrance from politicians, vested interests, unscrupulous employees, and tenderers mired in a rotten system created by the ANC that has all but destroyed Eskom. And if the lights go out because of his inaction in this regard, what is he going to tell the nation? My fellow South Africans, it was poor quality coal. We don't have the capacity to do a black start, and the dog ate my homework. It simply won't wash.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Well, anybody with a quarter of a brain would realize by now that the facts have been put to the nation in a very transparent way, that Eskom is in a parlous state, that state capture did do immense damage, that we do have a shortage of electricity to the extent of about 4,000 megawatts. And until we provide that source of megawatts through renewables and possibly through other mechanisms provided for in the Integrated Resource Plan of 2019 or its amended form, we are going to be in difficulty as a nation. And our plan is that within the next 18 months or so, we must get out of this crisis. That's very clear. The president on the 25th of July said very clearly that there's a 5-part plan that he has instructed all of us to work towards. Firstly, that we want to improve the performance of Eskom's existing fleet. I've addressed that already and indicated that the new board of Eskom has been asked to look into this matter, and there's absolutely no doubt that something needs to change on the generation side of Eskom. Secondly, that we will accelerate the procurement of new generation capacity. Yesterday, I spoke to a business person from another part of our continent who had a couple of 100 megawatts to offer and have referred him to Eskom. So instead of Mr. Kachalia repeating his points ad nauseum, what the honorable member should be doing is finding us options in terms of where possible megawatts could be found. Thirdly, that there needs to be an increase in private investment, and that is already on its way, and various forms of facilitation and cutting of red tape is happening through Operation Vulindlela and the crisis committee that is set up. Fourthly, we must enable businesses and households to invest in rooftop solar. And again, we can encourage people to do that. And finally, we must fundamentally transform the electricity sector. So those are the 5 points that the president has very transparently put to the country, Chairperson. And we did exactly what Mr. Kachalia is suggesting, as far as the leader of the opposition's surprise visit, as he calls it, to Kusile this morning is concerned. Applied the National Key Points Act. And I'll come back to that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Minister, I see you say that you've managed to find 50 million liters. My concern is, first of all, that Eskom appears to be using 9 million liters a day, or an average of 3.3 million liters a day, which, if you divide this, perhaps about 16 days of diesel. Added to that is the fact that our refineries have all shut down. What would happen if we do not have enough supply of diesel in the country? Can you guarantee us that we will still have an uninterrupted supply of energy, given the fact that we might be experiencing not only a funds crisis, but also a supply problem in the country as far as diesel is concerned? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, it is very clear, and we had an indication this morning of that Eskom is the biggest customer that Petro SA has, in addition to certain other state entities. Secondly, that once we have the funding pipeline sorted out with the Treasury, we can get the supply pipeline arranged as well. And thirdly, Petro SA and my colleague there, Minister Mantash, will ensure that they have sufficient supplies available at all times and based on the consumption that Eskom engages in. And of course, the level of consumption that Eskom has will depend on the level of breakdowns that they experience. If we start cutting down on the number of breakdowns and give more consistency in terms of plant performance and do the right things at the power stations, then we will ensure that we don't need what Mr. Kachalia calls the black start facility, which does exist, and we've said that before, Chairperson, on this platform. But if you don't want to hear something, of course, you won't hear it. So, Honorable Member, we're going to do our best to make sure that the supply pipeline remains in place at an adequate level to meet the requirements of Eskom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Jafta.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, considering the liquid constraints confronting ESCOM, which not only hinder its ability to purchase diesel in order to run some of its plants, but also its potential to attract foreign direct investment, is it not time to list ESCOM either partially or in full on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in order to raise capital and possibly post positive returns, which in turn will empower the utility company to sustainably invest in long-term acquisition of generation enhancing products like diesel? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Jafta, for your question. There's no doubt that there are capital constraints, but what we are trying to ensure through the board and ESCOM management is to make sure that there's enough cash in the system to undertake some of the maintenance work that requires to be done, and done on a value for money basis increasingly, and a watchful eye needs to be kept on that. Secondly, there's no doubt that the electricity crisis means that business suffers, and as a consequence, jobs might suffer as well. So the stability that we have asked of the board and the management and the managers of power stations is absolutely crucial for the future of the country and the future of the economy. As we go through the separation process and the so-called unbundling of ESCOM, we will be able to consider the question of listing, as you put it, for perhaps the transmission entity, but that might take another 6 to 12 months for us to begin to consider, get the appropriate advice, and ensure that we have the long-term capital flow as you've actually indicated. So those are interesting thoughts, and we thank you for that. And certainly that is within the radar screen that we have in mind once we get over A, the crisis, but B, some of the restructuring processes that ESCOM is going through.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Ian Buthelezi for the last supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We have spent about 12 billion on diesel to date, as South African has been promised billions of investment capital into the development of South Africa's energy sector. This money is committed particularly to South Africans' transition to cleaner energy sources. Despite this, we are unable to keep the lights on presently. Where the minister and his department has considered the potential use of some of these funds to purchase biodiesel, which would align with our commitments to cleaner energy sources and allow us to ensure electricity supply for South Africans. If not, why not? If so, what is the position in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Honorable Buthelezi's emphasis on cleaner energy sources is an important one that is within the government policy framework into the future. And there's no doubt that renewables as part of the generation machinery in South Africa will play an important role. Equally important is going to be the kind of investment that the private sector puts into renewable energy, and there's no doubt that billions of rands are currently being invested both on land that has been auctioned by ESCOM itself around its power stations, but also elsewhere in the country where the private sector is welcome to invest. And as I pointed out earlier on, as a result of the instructions we've got from the President on the 25th of July, a lot of the red tape has been cut. A lot of the time taken for approvals of one kind or another from different regulators has also been cut. And it is something that we need to reconsider, which is the biodiesel issue. When last it was looked at, it required a subsidy from the state. But this is a matter that the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition and Mineral Resources and Energy will be looking into as alternate sources of potential energy as well. of course, the cost factor and the subsidy factor needs to be taken into account. So if I round up, Chair, in respect of this question, money is being found, diesel will be made available, plans will be enhanced in terms of stabilizing generation, and the less grandstanding we have, the better. And once again, I want to make the appeal that I've made before in this chamber, which is let us not use the electricity crisis as a political football. Let's put our thoughts and ideas together, and they must go beyond just some of the things that we are talking about at the moment. Nor should we create a frightening environment in South Africa unnecessarily, because there is a Black Start facility. We've said that before in this particular context. And to the leader of the opposition, my call to him this morning was merely a courtesy to say, can I facilitate this rather than you enforcing yourself at the gates of Kusile? Of course, he turned that down. But I will continue to approach him so that they receive a proper briefing, because clearly his representatives in this chamber and in the committee are not doing their job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Question number 903 has been asked by the Honorable J.N. de Villiers to the Minister of Small Business Development. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable House Chair. I would like to respond to the question that has been asked by the Honorable Member. Firstly, just to explain one thing, unfortunately, because of having to comply with the COPIA, we can't publish the individuals' names, the individuals that are beneficiaries of the programs that we are running. In this context, I'm talking about the KwaZulu-Natal flood scheme, including the COVID-19 relief fund, Chair. We had managed to support about 1,497 SMMEs through CIFA for the COVID-19 scheme, with a total of 316 million rands that was dispersed. From the CEDA side, we have managed to support for the floods. We've managed to support about 145 SMMEs in the province of KwaZulu-Natal again, which talked to a 50 million rands that we had assigned for formal businesses and 10 million rands for informal businesses. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question is by the Honorable de Villiers.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, would you not agree that keeping the names of these beneficiaries sealed actually aids, abets, and assists potential corruption in your own department, especially government officials who have possibly channeled funds illegally to themselves and their families or cronies, like we saw with the SASSA COVID relief grant payments? Would making the names and identities of these beneficiaries and these relief funds paid for by taxpayer money known to the public not assist the minister to identify corruption in her own ranks, and then also the opposite? If she insists on hiding the names from the public, would this not help cover up any corrupt activities in her department? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
As Chair, indeed, if we were refusing to provide the information to the honorable members, we would be colluding with potential corrupt elements. The information I'm responding to the question that talks to us publishing publicly, and it is the act that has been passed by Parliament. We can provide information to the honorable members because they've taken oath, and we are confident that they will protect whatever that needs to be protected. We can't be in breach, unfortunately. The information of all the beneficiaries with address and all of that can be provided to the House anytime the members or Parliament dictates that we do so. But what we are cautioning against is what the question has been asked in relation to us providing a date for publishing for the public, and that we can't do because we can't break the law. With all due respect, House Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Bede Famela. The Honorable Famela.
Thank you, House Chair. The Honorable Minister, in what ways did the enterprise benefit from the COVID-19 Debt Relief Fund and the KwaZulu-Natal Flood Relief Scheme? Given the POPI Act, how will we ensure greater accountability and transparency of government beneficiaries, demonstrating that the ANC government cares about the plight of the people? I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable House Chair. The enterprises benefited on a non-financial support, wherein we provided equipment, and of course, others got the financial support as I gave the numbers in terms of the 316 million rands that we dispersed during the COVID-19 period. As I indicated earlier, the honorable members can get the list and addresses of the beneficiaries for them to be able to go and provide oversight. What we are saying we can do is to publish the list for the public, but the list is available for parliamentarians who are expected to do their oversight. We will provide the list to Parliament. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question by the Honorable Matulela.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, we now know that many of the beneficiaries of the COVID-19 relief measures were white businesses, and that very few Black informal businesses got any form of assistance. We know that Black businesses, in particular rural provinces such as Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and others, are still struggling to bounce back from the COVID devastation. What has you, Minister, done to ensure that interventions aimed at assisting small businesses do reach out to the rural informal sector, particularly that which is led by Black people? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
House Chair, it is not true that the people that benefited are only white people in terms of the support that we provided. I will provide again a list to the members of Parliament so that they can see that there were Black enterprises that benefited from the second issue, we are ensuring that we engage.
Sorry, Honorable Minister. Honorable Bongo. Valaba. Honorable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, House Chair. We are engaging with local municipalities. In each and every municipality, our services are found in the LED offices. You can go to the CEDA office if you don't have, which we know that there's LED office in each and every municipality. And that's where beneficiaries or interested parties, they submit their applications to the department in order for them to enjoy the benefits that they are supposed to enjoy. Of course, we are running programs like the Township and Rural Enterprise Program, which specifically targets enterprises in those areas. But again, as we do this, we're cutting across all the services or the products that we are rendering House Chair. It is not true that we exclude township and rural businesses. Of course, one can then complain about the quality of the applications if we are talking about the intake of the services that we're talking about. Yes, we're still receiving very few applications that meet the criterion, which is why we have dispatched our teams to go and conduct training and workshops in the areas where enterprises are found. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable NLS Kwankwa for the last supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Nkosazana Minister, naku kwenzeka. Ingxaki thina esibe nayo into yoba urhulumente xa isiza nezinto noba ungathi debt relief fund or loan guarantee scheme ebezizama ukunceda abantu ngexesha le-COVID, ukuthi zikhona ii-companies eziye zazithatha ezi mali, nto nje zaqhubeka zibadenda abantu bakuthi baphelelwe ngumsebenzi. Even though urhulumente into ebeyizama ibikuqiniseka ukuthi ukhusele imisebenzi yabantu. Ingaba kulena na imali eniyikhuphileyo niye naqiniseka ukuthi small business ngakumbi ezingathi noko zinkulwanyana azibadendanga abantu emveni uba zifumene uncedo lukarhulumente. Ukuba kunjalo lithini nani? Enkosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Inkosi mhlali ngaphambili. Umhlonipheki ukwanga ngoba esisho eneneni ziyenzeka izinto azithethayo. Yiyo le nto siqiniseka into yokuba xa sinikezela imali, we also provide post-investment support. Nalapha siyamonitharisha ukuba injongo yasifake ezimali yokuba abantu bangadendwa emisebenzini. Kodwa ke uba umhlonitshwa unolwazi oluthe vetshe ngoba mhlawumbi ikhona indawo engeba kwenzekile okwathetha ngako, singayivuyela kakhulu into yokuba asinike inkcazelo sizawukwazi uba silandelele. Ezi enterprises sithetha ngazo zipha ekuhlaleni kwabantu. Yiyo le nto ndisebenza nomasipala kunye namagosa wethu esida nesifa. Ngawo ke athi gqolo ukuhamba ayojonga ukuba ezi businesses zisahamba kakuhle na. Kuba owethu ayikokuphelele ukuthumelela imali. Okwethu kuqiniseka uba ezi businesses zi-sustainable, zingazukufa so that zikwazi uba zicreate amathuba emisebenzi. Nanjengoko i-National Development Plan isiyalela. Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Question number 882 has been asked by the Honorable C. Mautwe to the Minister of Public Enterprise. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. The response is as follows. This is a dispute regarding the validity of a contract for fuel oil between Eskom and Econ Oil, a company. The adjudicator found that a contract existed between the parties. Eskom opposed this finding and referred the matter to arbitration. Eskom also launched an application at the High Court on the 29th of July 2021 to review and set aside the tender award. On the 29th of June 2021, the South Gauteng High Court, presided over by Judge Valley, reviewed and set aside the tender of October 2019 and awarded costs against Econ Oil. The court further ruled that no contract was concluded between Eskom and Econ Oil for the supply of oil for a period of 5 years, commencing October 2019. On 15 July 2021, Econ Oil brought an application for leave to appeal against Judge Valley's judgment to the Supreme Court of Appeals, alternatively full bench of the High Court. The grounds raised in favor of leave specifically included Judge Valley's reliance on a confirmatory affidavit by Mr. Hewu, which turned out not to have been provided. On 22nd July 2021, the High Court dismissed Econ Oil's application for leave to appeal. On 20th of August 2021, Econ Oil brought an application for leave to appeal directly to the Supreme Court of Appeals. Again, the grounds raised in favor of leave specifically included Judge Valley's reliance on a confirmatory affidavit by Mr. Hewu, which, as I said earlier, had not been provided. On 25th October 2021, the SCA dismissed Econ Oil's application for leave to appeal on the grounds that, and I quote, there is no reasonable prospect of success in an appeal, and there is no other compelling reason why the appeal should be heard, end of quotation. On 18 November 2021, Econ Oil applied to the SCA Judge President for reconsideration of the dismissal of the applications. On the 28th of January 2022, the SCA dismissed Econ Oil's application. This matter, as is evident from the above, has been ventilated in numerous legal platforms, clearly indicating that the alleged error made by Judge Valley in his judgment has no material bearing on the judgment. Eskom respects the decisions of the High Court and the SCA and will abide by those rulings. In December 2020, Eskom received a forensic report on the qualification of possible overcharging by, quantification of possible overcharging by Econ Oil in the amount of approximately 1.2 billion rands over a 5-year period, that is 2012 to 2017. On 17 December 2020, Eskom instituted an arbitration proceeding against Econ Oil to recover the sum of money. The findings of multiple forensic reports confirm allegations of unethical conduct between Econ Oil and a former Eskom employee, as well as reasonable suspicion of fraud and corruption, and significantly overcharging of Eskom by Econ Oil as indicated above. As required in terms of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, Eskom has reported the alleged fraud and corruption to law enforcement agencies. And finally, having regard to the serious allegations of fraud and corruption, the current arbitration proceedings to recover over R1 billion due to overcharging, and the court's vindication of Eskom's decision to cancel the bid document called 4786, Eskom is within its rights to cease business with Econ Oil, and we must assure the South African public that Eskom is committed to acting in a fair and equitable manner and has followed due process in reaching a decision to deregister Econ Oil from its supplier base. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Mautre.
Thank you very much. Honorable Commander will take the question. Minister, the CEO came to us as members of parliament who sits in the Public Enterprise Committee, and we had to listen to very traumatic experience of how you deliberately collapsed a thriving company owned by a Black woman just to make way for company owned by Investec because of your daughter. We know that FFC replacing Econ Oil is owned by Investec. We also know that there is a racist agenda at Eskom to purge Black executives. A Black chief procurement officer was replaced by an Indian. Black head of international audit was replaced by an Indian. Black executive in Eskom Treasury was replaced by a white man. A Black woman executive in commercial was replaced by a white male. There are many of these positions. Why is ABB not being deregistered if we are dealing with the corruption as a principle of matter? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, Honorable Komane is overstepping her mark by making personal references to my family. My family has nothing to do with Econ Oil and has nothing to do with Eskom and has nothing to do with collapsing any firms. I gave all the detailed information in my initial answer so that we can make up our minds that this, regrettably, was a firm that has engaged in some form of corruption, it would seem, that this firm owes Eskom 1.2 billion rands as a consequence of a malfeasance between 2012 and 2017. And whether you are Indian, African, colored, whether you are isiZulu speaking or any other language in South Africa, we are all South Africans. And all South Africans are entitled to do business. All Black South Africans are entitled to have the privileges that what will eventually become the Procurement Act initiated by the Treasury becomes law in South Africa. And all Black South Africans need to be empowered in order to ensure that they have a fair stake in the economy of this country. As far as ABB is concerned, I don't have the reasons before me. Safe to say that they supply important equipment. It would appear to Eskom, but if there's a separate question in this particular regard, I will get the details as well. But there are other firms like McKinsey, like Bain, like some of the other accounting firms that were involved, who have all been either blacklisted or have been told that entities like Eskom will not do any business with them. Making personal attacks is not in keeping with the decorum of this forum. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, Minister, it's a fact. Minister, it's a fact that your daughter is involved in Investec. It's a fact.
My daughter has worked for Investec for years.
It is a fact, and it's also a fact that you are replacing Black executives with Indians at Eskom. It's a fact, Minister.
ICT, would you please remove that member?
I don't care. You can remove me, but the fact remains. The truth, Chairperson. You can.
Since when do you speak the truth?
Please remove that member.
Honorable House Chair.
Jesus.
The second supplementary question will be.
House Chair, can you please note me on a point of order?
Yes, Honorable Ntangwene.
But you can't just remove members, House Chair. You ought to have given the Honorable Maute first a warning. To just blindly just remove a person like that. It's not following the rules. Don't do that, please. I'm pleading with you. I'm a whip and I'm pleading with you. Don't do that to my members.
Thank you, Honorable Tlangwini. Your advice is taken, but not adhered to, because the member knows the rules. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Piri.
Thank you, House Chair. South Africa belongs to all who live in it, be it black or white. We can't be entertaining issues of national importance with issues of race tendencies, but nevertheless, House Chair, Honorable Minister, since the CEO and the board of ESCOM are committed to protect ESCOM's financials and operational interests from corrupt elements, as evident by the utility's successful challenges to scrap the multi-billion rands contract with fuel oil supplier of Econ Oil. My question is that, has ESCOM implemented a consequence management to hold the implicated employees to account for contravening key provisions of procurement regulation in awarding the multi-billion rands contract to Econ Oil? And what are the implications for scrapping fuel oil contract, given that ESCOM relies on fuel depends on open cycle gas turbines to match the peak demands? I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson and Honorable Piri, South Africa does indeed belong to all who live in it, black and white. And that is a principle that many of us have lived for and we're willing to die for, and still willing to die for, just for the statement of fact. As far as consequence management is concerned, there are any number of employees, Honorable Piri, who've been suspended or dismissed or gone through disciplinary processes or left of their own accord, as has often happened post the state capture period itself, because they knew that they would actually get into trouble in this particular regard. I don't have the information on this particular individual that was involved in collaborating with this company or any other company for that matter, but I assume that the appropriate consequence management steps were in fact taken. I can obtain that information, Chairperson, and make sure Honorable Piri has access to it in due course. But what we should be all agreed on, there shall be zero tolerance for corruption, whatever source it comes from. And as we all live by that and act in terms of that, South Africa will be a much better country and will leave a better South Africa for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question is by the Honorable Kachalia.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, given the crisis at ESCOM, the huge cost to the economy and the DA's long-standing call for the removal that would assist, that has assisted fraud and corruption that the minister has referred to, such as BEE, cadre deployment, localization, and preferential employment, that would give ESCOM's executives and board a free hand to fix plants and help close our gap in generation. Will the minister now agree with us, notwithstanding his having scotched invoking the necessary acts, and albeit at 1 minute to midnight, better late than never, as they say? And will he assume full responsibility in the event of continued and increased load shedding, and tender his resignation in the absence of having introduced these light-saving measures? In this regard, what time frame would he deem reasonable? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years? Oh, never mind, 2024 is coming.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. 2024 is indeed coming, and let's wait for it, and then we'll see what happens in 2024. If you think, Honorable Kachalia, you're going to be a cabinet minister, then, as you've had many other similar aspirations, prepare yourself for disappointment. But secondly, Chairperson, BEE and Black empowerment, and ensuring that this is broad-based empowerment that empowers the involvement of Black people who've been excluded from the economy. I'd like to understand what the political party that is represented by Mr. Kachalia has to say about involving historically excluded communities in the economy of South Africa. Are they opposed to that? If they are, they should tell the South African public that they actually are opposed to it. Secondly, Mr. Kacharia knows, in as much as he doesn't operate anything in Ekurhuleni or any other place he's been involved in, I don't operate the power stations. What we have to make sure is we have the right board and we have the right management, and if they're not doing the right things, take the steps that will be necessary.
Order, honorable members.
Take the steps that will be necessary in order to ensure that the plant is actually fixed. And lastly, Chairperson, this problem has been accumulating over many years before my time. We take the onus of doing the best we can during the current term of office to put Eskom on a much better footing than it has been before. And I certainly do hope that the involvement of the private sector, that the investment that is happening through the private sector, and the initiatives that we have seen from Eskom itself, and the general initiatives from government as a whole, as initiated by the president, will begin to have an impact in 2023, and we will see a much more stable environment in that particular regard. Of course, in order to get there, we need to ensure that every corrupt element, both outside of Eskom and inside of Eskom, is dealt with by law enforcement agencies, and they find themselves behind bars. And that's what Mr. Kachalia and others should be joining us in doing, identifying individuals and companies that do engage in undermining Eskom. Instead, we have all sorts of rhetoric that actually makes no contribution towards a better performing Eskom at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Chelezi.
Thank
Last
you very
supplementary
much,
question.
Honorable Chair. Considering that Eskom has had issues with carrying over of a legacy contract of the same nature and non-compliance to PFMA, what is your department doing to ensure that effective measures are implemented to recover monies awarded to suppliers irregularly and to improve their audit controls? Thank you.
Thank you, Chelezi. The Honorable Minister.
Chair, the first step obviously is to have a board which has an effective audit committee, which I believe we do now. And the previous board has tried its best in its time as well. Secondly, we need to ensure, as Eskom has begun ensuring since the time of the late Jabu Mabuza, when he was chairperson of the board, that there will be consequence management on those who've been engaging in malfeasance of one kind or another, including violation of the PFMA. And a number of people, as I indicated earlier, have either left or been charged. And as you know, the National Prosecuting Authority and the DPIC, or the Hawks as we know them, have done some work in this regard as well. I certainly believe that that work can be intensified so that more of the culprits who have contributed to some of these problems actually find themselves in difficulty in an appropriate way with the law enforcement agencies. Similarly, there's been financial recovery from ABB, which was the firm mentioned earlier on, from Deloitte, from McKinsey, and a number of other firms that have, in inverted commas, owned up to some of the difficulties that they have engaged in that has created the problems for Eskom itself. And that process will continue, Chairperson, so that we hold businesses accountable, but we hold employees accountable as well. I still think that there's a rump, from what I hear, of corrupt people that who are within the Eskom system, and I want to use this platform to warn them that they must desist from the kind of activities that they are engaging in, which is undermining the country as a whole, and that sooner or later they will be caught and they will find themselves in difficulty with law enforcement as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Question number 860 by the Honorable S.N. Gumede to the Minister of Public Enterprise. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Sorry about that. Thank you to Honorable Gumede for the question. And Let me respond as follows. Over the past few years, the DPE has taken many steps to overcome the negative impacts of state capture. However, the lack of operational capital has been a major constraint, as has been the passive resistance, if you like, of individuals implicated in state capture, but that are still within Denel's fold. As a result, the entity has experienced a substantial decline in operational activity, which had a negative impact on the entity itself, which is struggling then during that period to meet its contractual obligations, both to the South African National Defence Force and to other contractees as well. This entity had to contest a number of legal actions by aggrieved employees, suppliers, and customers during this time in order to fend them off and keep the entity going. Nonetheless, many crucial steps have been taken to restore the operations and reputation of Denel, both by the board and by the shareholder. Firstly, we've obtained the approval and support for Denel to proceed with the amendment of the Denel Medical Benefit Trust. This unlocked over 990 million rands in July 2022, which had enabled the entity to settle outstanding salary payments, pay critical suppliers, and ensure that there are other statutory obligations that it can meet. Secondly, facilitating strategic engagements between Denel and other SOCs and other relevant organs of the state to explore collaboration in terms of improving their capability, but also purchasing their requirements from Denel itself. Thirdly, the appointment of a chief restructuring officer in June 2022 by the board. The CRO was instrumental in the development of a restructuring plan, which has been approved by the board, submitted to the shareholder in July 2022, and the business case in the restructuring plan was one of the reasons that enabled the Minister of Finance to allocate 3.4 billion rand as a capital injection as part of the special appropriation in his recently announced MTBPS. 4. The 2022 African Aerospace and Defense Exhibition, which was held in Pretoria between the 21st and 23rd of September, afforded Denel the opportunity to engage and communicate government strategic intent regarding Denel itself with both local and international stakeholders, and the confirmation of the allocation by the Minister of Finance soon after this exhibition helped to reinforce the message. 5. There is a normalization of relationship with the local users. To this effect, Denel and Armscor have signed an MOU, which amongst other things, formalizes the commitment to unlock key programs, support in recovering market opportunities, and intellectual property exploitation at a better level than they've done before. 6. On its part, Denel is implementing a focused plan to restore its reputation. Internally, Denel is consulting with its employees on the new direction it wishes to take. And in respect of the second part of the question, Chairperson, the 3.4 billion rand allocation is divided according to specific obligations, which make possible for Denel to track the deployment and utilization of the financial resources and enables the DPE to do the same. For example, one of the conditions is that the funding for the legacy obligations must be ring-fenced and used specifically and exclusively to settle legacy debt. Secondly, the department already has mechanisms in place, which include direct liaison with the board and executive management and the CRO to account on financial indicators, operational performance, and implementation of strategic initiatives. Thirdly, in addition, one of the conditions attached to the allocation is that there should be a multi-departmental oversight team, and such a team will meet monthly to evaluate progress that Denel is making. Fourthly.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kumete.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. It goes clear that Denel is a very capable entity. Since Denel's turnaround strategy includes establishing partnerships and joint ventures for accessing market funding and technology, even though government funding is the one that provides working capital to execute the turnaround strategy? Why does the sustainability of Denel hinge on partnerships and joint ventures? What will it take Denel to address its current challenges to return to profitability as the whole state-owned company without partnerships and joint ventures?
The Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Honorable Gumede. Clearly, where we are at the moment, Chairperson, is where Denel has now the minimum resources it needs in order to meet some of its debt requirements, but also provide for itself the working capital in order to execute what is today somewhere between 12 and 15 billion rands worth of orders that it potentially has. And the key to regaining its reputation and place in the defense marketplace is going to depend not just on words and PR exercises, but on its ability to execute these contracts efficiently, and in executing those contracts, get its operational machinery in shape. And that will ultimately take it to the profitability stage within the next 2 years or so, if all the right things are done. And our job is to make sure, together with the board, that the right job is in fact done, now that some capital has been provided by the state itself. Where appropriate, Denel is also an integrator of systems. It's not an originator of every part of that system. And to that extent, there is a wide network of connectivity between Denel itself and other players within the defense industry who depend upon Denel also for various types of orders, equipment, and parts to be provided, which Denel integrates into bigger systems, if you want to put it that way, and is then able to on-sell that equipment to different customers, including within South Africa itself. So those partnerships are going to be quite crucial to revitalize, to reinvigorate, but to ensure at the same time that new sets of efficiencies and operational performance must be introduced within Denel itself, and the pedestrian pace at which things might have been happening until now must change, so that Denel can prove to both to Parliament and to the state on the one hand, but also to its customers, that it has the ability to deliver on the orders that it actually receives. And in that way, it will regain the respect in the marketplace as well. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Kachalia, second supplementary.
Chair, in view of the suspension of Denel's bonds in February 2022 from the JSE, rattling bondholders over its failure to submit annual results for the 2021 financial year, which breaches the JSE's debt listing requirements that stipulate state-owned intercompanies must submit their annual statements within 7 months of the financial year end, and that Denel's currently due accounts are still missing in action, will the minister unequivocally support the DA's private members bill that seeks to provide for an additional coercive measures in instances where the executive fails to table annual financial statements in the National Assembly? And if not, why not? Surely any responsible person encouraging oversight would agree, wouldn't they, Minister? Oh, but he's got form here, CF Honorable Steenhuisen and Kusile.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Kachalia can't help himself. We pity him. But Chairperson, let's get to the substance of the matter. In many of the SOCs, what we have is different levels of chaos, if you like, and disorderliness as far as availability of documents and the putting together of financial statements is concerned. Each entity is being asked through its board to ensure that it speeds up these processes, and we all know that trying to reconstruct past financials is a difficult exercise, particularly when people who are there and who have left behind a mess of one sort or another. So depending on what those coercive measures are, and I hope that doesn't mean that people must get into the boxing ring with Honorable Kachalia, certainly there's room to ensure that firstly, we all understand that there are difficulties and they're very real difficulties. Secondly, where there is laxity, there should be adequate penalties and consequences for that. And thirdly, if this involves any malfeasance of any sort, then there are enough laws on our books in order for people to be taken to task for the malfeasance that they've actually engaged in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question by the Honorable Imam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, first of all, can you tell us whether Denel is still a state-owned company? Because there is a lot of reports going around that Denel was sold. So if you can just provide us clarity. But more importantly, Minister, have you been able to conduct a comprehensive study as to everything that you will need to turn Denel around again and make it the success and pride that it once was in this beautiful country? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, I can assure Honorable Imam that Denel remains within the state fold, that the government as a shareholder is the owner of 100% of Denel, except for those entities or sub-entities within Denel that were disposed of at some stage, or in those instances where there are partnership arrangements. For example, Rheinmetall Denel Munitions, which operates from Somerset West as well. So those are partnerships, those are different types of arrangements, but essential Denel still belongs to the state. Secondly, yes, there have been any number of studies about, firstly, what is changing in the defense marketplace. Secondly, the kind of technological advances that have been made within this particular industry. Thirdly, what would it take Denel in order to be in a position to catch up, if you like, with the technological developments elsewhere in the world, so that its products are marketable and that its products are going to have a market within which to actually sell those particular products as well. So I think the key elements, Honorable Member, are certainly there. Now they've got to get on with the job of restructuring on the one hand. Secondly, they've got to get on with the job of complying with the conditions set by the National Treasury and government as a whole. And thirdly, they've got to get on with the job of getting the production machinery, both within Denel and amongst its partners, moving again, so that, as I said earlier on, it can produce the goods that can meet the orders that already are lying at Denel's doorstep and which it has to comply with. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable S. Kwangwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, the inability of some of these NSOEs to submit annual financial statements has a tendency of undermining the ability of Parliament to play financial oversight over the work of these entities. Given this challenge and this limitation, are you then, as a department, as we play oversight over Denel and to ensure that it meets the stringent conditions, able to, over the medium term, make sure that you provide this institution with credible management account information so that we're able to make sure that we hold Denel accountable for the resources given to it and other institutions and SOEs of government? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kwankwa. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Honorable Kwankwa. I mean, accountability to Parliament is a crucial element, both in terms of the constitutional requirements of the executive on the one hand and of the entities that report to an executive on the other hand. Secondly, we must do everything possible Honorable Conquer, to ensure that you have the information that you need in order to play the oversight role and to critique what might not be happening at an adequate level in your view. Thirdly, I certainly give you the assurance that everything possible is being done, but I will take the responsibility of once again checking on where the holdups are in certain of the entities and direct officials within the DPE to make their presence known in these entities and to speed up the processes that will ensure that you receive the information and the credible information that you require in order to do the oversight role that you have responsibility for. So thank you very much for urging us on.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, can I please have your attention? Order. During questions to ministers in the Peace and Security Cluster on the 27th October 2022, Honorable Ntlangwini rose on a point of order and submitted that Honorable Ramulobe's supplementary question to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services was out of order because it was a new question. I wrote that it is up to the discretion of the minister to reply or not. Honorable Ntlangwini rose on a point of order, again, amidst interjections from other members of the House, pointed at the ANC benches and said, and I quote, "I don't know why that idiot is still talking about. Well, I don't know why that idiot is still talking out there, because I'm standing here. I don't know how a person just comes up and wants to speak. She wants to look relevant somewhere where she is, and she thinks we are in a beer hall." At this point, Honorable Hadebe rose on a point of order and submitted that Honorable Ntlangwini had used unparliamentary language by referring to a member who spoke earlier by an unpalatable term, which is idiot. I advised the House that I will consult the Hansard and return with a ruling. Having had the opportunity to consult Hansard, I rule as follows, honorable members. National Assembly Rule 82 provides that members must refer to one another in respectful terms and may not use any name to impugn the dignity of any member. In the same National Assembly Rule 84, it provides that members may not use offensive, abusive, insulting, disrespectful, unbecoming, or unparliamentary words or language. Furthermore, National Assembly Rule 85 provides that no member may cast personal reflections upon a member's integrity or dignity, or verbally abusing a member in any other way. Honorable members, Hansard reflects that Honorable Ntlangwini did not direct her remarks to Honorable Papo, but to Honorable Piri, who interjected from the virtual platform. Accordingly, having found that Honorable Ntlangwini referred to Honorable Piri as an idiot, and that such remark falls short of the conduct expected of an honorable member of parliament, as provided by the Rule 82, 84, and 85, I call upon the Honorable Ntlangwini to withdraw the remark. Honorable Ntlangwini, please withdraw the word idiot in reference to a member of the House. Honorable Ntlangwini is on virtual. Honorable Ntlangwini. Apparently, Honorable Ntlangwini is no longer available. Her mic is off, but the rule stands. The rule stands. We will, I hope, make a follow-up on this so that she's able to withdraw the remark. Honorable members, shall we continue? Question number 861 has been asked by the Honorable Z.N. Ngamacha to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. I have been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. The Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The question is, what is it that we are doing as the department through our National Empowerment Fund and Industrial Development Corporation, that is IDC, in making sure that we provide financial support to small and medium enterprises under the jurisdiction of the industrial parks located in the rural areas and the township areas. I will start with the IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation, as to say, what is it that you are doing? We know that the Industrial Development Corporation, the IDC...
On a point of order.
Yes, Honourable Member. What is the point of order?
I don't know, am I late because I was load shedded while the chair was having a ruling on my name.
Yes,
So
no,
in
Honourable
between,
Member.
I was load shedded, so I missed in between the house sitting. So I don't know, what am I standing to do? Do I wait until he is ruling, having the house again? Presiding over
Honourable
the house
Member.
again, or what do I do?
Honourable Member, an arrangement will be made when the Honourable Tombela chairs the session again, and that will be done now at a later stage.
Thank you, House Chair.
He has just vacated the seat. Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Honourable Deputy Minister, please continue.
Thank you, Chair. I was still saying, House Chair, IDC's funding instrument and mechanism, it cuts across all geographical areas in the country and accommodates various sizes of enterprises with an aim of promoting the industrial capacity in the country. The IDC, they provide catalytic funding to support the social and solidarity economy, which includes cooperatives, social enterprises, as well as worker and community empowerment models to take advantage of opportunities. And also, we have seen that IDC has is strategically located in all the regional and having satellite offices in all the provinces, and making sure that they are there to provide necessary assistance to small and medium enterprises and making sure that they develop in the areas of rural and township economy. But again, the ministry has just recently established a project management unit known as the Industrial Zones Project, which is normally known as IZP, that has been located within the IDC. And this IZP provides technical and advisory support for infrastructure development, project management, attraction of investors, and good governance of the industrial parks. What the IDC does, I'll just cite one or two examples as to say, in making sure that in those industrial parks is the assistance that the IDC gives to make sure that the SMMEs are assisted. The IDC provides financial support to the industrial park tenants or the investors that are there that fall within their funding mandate. The IDC and the IZP are working together to ensure that there is greater support provided to the industrial parks and their tenants. What we have seen the IDC doing also, it has established, one example, it has established a furniture industry fund to support entrepreneurs in this space, which are typically located within the industrial parks. This fund is expected to benefit the township and the rural economy. Again, we have seen the IDC developing a township economy flight path, the project which will be reviewing industrial hubs to be considered as focus points for SMMEs development across the country. The IDC, in collaboration with Gauteng Provincial Government, has established a task team to facilitate township and economic development, a pilot focusing on Citibank Soweto and Soshanguve. In this regard, the industrial park upgrading and revitalization are key strategic trust. We are looking at that as to say, when we talk to the revitalization of all these industrial parks, it's going to happen in all the provinces, and that is what we are working with through IDC and Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Again, on the side of the National Empowerment Fund, the NEF Chair, House Chair, supports the DTIC request in increasing the investment and making sure that we grow the economy when it comes to rural and township economies. We have seen that to achieve this mandate, NEF has established two specialist funds. The first one, we name it the Rural Township and Community Development Fund. In short, it's known as RTCDF. And also we have got a second type of funding that is called Imbeu Fund. What the RTCD Fund is doing, it was established to provide financial support to enterprises.
Honorable Deputy Minister, your time has now expired. Honorable members, I've been informed that the Honorable Malamacha will take charge of the first supplementary question in accordance with Rule 137. The question was originally asked by the Honorable Burns Malamacha.
Thanks, House Chair. Deputy Minister, what has been the intervention made by your department to use industrial parks in townships and rural areas to attract youth into the economy? Mutonpe, trabaya bana ba igwesa botugu gulu ka re ka moka re a tseba hore ba ile sekoloni ba nao mangwalo ba na le bona bokgoni bontši ba felletša ba tšea maphelo a bona ba dala re darata bangwe ba khebula ba khalapela ka mae ka baka la re a ba šomi. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. As part of making sure that we contribute and attract youth into the economy, what we have done, we have taken a decision to revitalize and modernize the industrial parks. We have partnered with CEDA to add digital hubs within the industrial parks. These digital hubs, Honorable Chair, are the state-of-art incubation hubs for youth, innovators, entrepreneurs, with business mentors that are there to assist them on a daily basis to develop their own businesses using free facilities that have been installed there, like computers. We have got free Wi-Fi that is there, boardrooms and mentors that are ever there, guided to access the government incentives. So it's one area where we are saying when it comes to youth development, we are putting all that we can in making sure that our youth do have all these facilities that can help them to develop their own businesses and make sure that they play a meaningful role in the growth of the economy of our country. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honorable F.J. Mulder.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. My question to the Honorable Deputy Minister would also be to the Minister. While recognizing the real challenge of economic and industrial development in rural and underdeveloped provinces, would the Honorable Deputy Minister consider a study or an alternative approach of local economic development that already has resulted in the successful establishment of a self-respecting community, not relying on a total input from the state, and successfully created a sustainable local economy which is sustainable? This community is, of course, the Northern Cape community of Orania that has already proved to be a developmental community contributing towards the economic growth of a larger area. I would be willing to accompany the Honourable Minister or Deputy Minister on a fact-finding visit to Orania. Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Though it wasn't much of a question, but it was just a comment to say he can contribute in making sure that we broaden our understanding and knowledge and the things that we can do to broaden the issues of rural and township economy. There's so much that the department is doing. We are undergoing a lot of studies and so many initiatives that we are doing in making sure that when it comes to the issues of rural and urban and township economy, we are there. But as we are saying, we are always saying we are welcome to whatever contribution and ideas that come, as long as those are the contributions that are going to make sure that we change the lives of our people for the better. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The next follow-up question is to be asked by the Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, the success of this digital hubs or industrial parks is not limited to money or computers, but also very importantly that they get human resource skills, marketing skills, financial management skills. What is your department doing to ensure that they get these skills? And more importantly, can you tell us what has been the success rate for all those that you have provided funding for? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Indeed, the success does not lie on the monies and the resources, as the Honorable Member is saying, but what are we doing to skill them? After these SMEs have been skilled, what is it that you are doing as the department to make sure that we open up the doors for them to trade, the market doors? And that is exactly what we are doing. We incubate them, we provide those mentors, supply them with all the resources that they have. But once they get up on their feet, giving necessary resources, whether financially or non-financially, as the Honourable Member was saying, another main financial resource that we have and the assistance that we have to give them is to make sure that whatever they produce, the markets are there. Whatever they produce, whenever they need to trade, we open up for that. That mentorship, even there, that is non-financial, it's what we give. I can come up, Honorable Imam, with a lot of examples where these digital hubs, we have young people who have started to manufacture. We can go, I can take you to one of the digital hubs that we have just launched at Butabelo in the Free State, where you can meet a lot of young people that are very productive on what has been offered to them in that digital hub. And those are the examples. We're having a lot of SMMEs that have developed through the digital hubs that you are working together with small business through CEDA in that industrial hub. So really, I will be very glad to invite you. Then we can go to that digital hub. You can see the living examples of what you are talking about here. Thank you very much, Chair.
The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honorable Hendricks.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Honorable House Chair, I'm a member of the Small Business Portfolio, and we have a parliamentary constituency office in King Williamstown. Thank you, Honorable Prince, for putting this question to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Commerce. Does the Minister have plans to do anything about the industrial park in Dimbaza near King Williamstown? After serving time for the Sharpeville massacre, freedom fighters were dumped here, and now our minister has dumped the industrial park, and we need this industrial park in Dimbaza to rise again. Will the minister or the deputy minister visit Dimbaza Park in honor of our fighters who died after Sharpeville and revive this industrial park to take the families out of poverty? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Dimbaza Industrial Park, Honorable Chair, it's one of the industrial parks that are in the pipeline, that are in the plans. It's not even that, as the Honorable Member is saying, he is inviting the minister to visit that industrial park. We have been there several times. It's part of our plans, as to say, it's one of the industrial parks that we are going to be revitalizing. We have started doing that in the name of making sure that the people surrounding that area, they do benefit in the industrial park. When we talk to the issue of township and rural economy, we know the meaningful role that that industrial park will be playing. So indeed, Honorable Member, Dimbaza Industrial Park is one of the industrial parks that are going to be revitalized by the department. Thank you very much, House.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, question number 862 has been asked by the Honourable Mangu to the Honourable Minister of Transport. The Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Is a question. Can you hear me, Chair?
Can hear you now, Honourable Minister. Please proceed.
You can see me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
How do I look like? Thank you, Honorable
Order,
House
Honourable
Chair.
members.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair and Honorable members. With reference to Sandral key non-toll projects directly linked.
Order,
to
Honourable
the-
members. Proceed, Honourable Minister. The members are very excited to see you.
With reference to Sandral, key non-toll projects directly linked to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, Sandral has made following progress on 4 key corridors. 1 and 2 Wild Coast Corridor estimate 16 million rand. 2 times project in construction, 2-time project construction tender adjudication, and a 5-time detailed design construction tender advert 2023-2024, and 2 eThekwini corridor estimate 14 billion rand. I'll spare the details. 3 eThekwini corridor estimate 22 million rand. 4 R573 Moloto corridor estimate 9.1 billion rand. With regard to development of Sandral key toll projects directly linked to the economic and reconstruction and recovery plan, Sandral has made following progress on 4 key corridors. 1 N1 North estimate 10 billion rand. 2 N1 South estimate 8.5 billion rand. 3 N2 South and North estimate 3 billion rand. And 4 N3 Marian Hill estimate 4.8 billion rand. Thank you very much, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mangu.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, thank you very much. Having gone through the debacle of the e-tolling that has just been resolved, and given the report you have just given, what is the split between toll and non-toll roads in what is being developed in these corridors? And this is really because we would not want to see more toll roads being developed. So what is the split between the toll and the non-toll roads? Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
The split is between 2.3 billion rand to 2.5 billion rand non-tolling. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Are you done? The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mabena.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Given the other corridor of R573, how true is it that this corridor is experiencing severe delays? 1. Secondly, the issue that there's been business forums that have gone in and stopped the projects. and that the project itself is going to be going into cost overruns. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister.
I don't have a report that says the project will go on cost overruns. I gave a feedback last week in Pumalanga on that Moloto corridor designs have been finalized and that the project is ready to start. The board gave me a feedback that the service provider tendering processes have been finished and the service provider is ready to start. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Noluchungu.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Command will take the question. I want to show my face due to the load shedding. Minister, while we appreciate the role played by Sandra, the entity is not only responsible for 3% of the rail network in the country. What is your response to the infrastructure report from the South African Institute of Civil Engineers, which shows that year after year, funding is allocated to roads in good condition and that low volume routes are neglected? While these roads may carry low volume of traffic, they are key links to some isolated communities. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister.
Central is responsible for national roads. And in terms of some of the challenges we face in terms of local roads and so on, that is the matter that we are attending to in terms of funding, because that relates directly to the capacity of local government to execute. But from a central point of view, where we undertake a mission of major construction of national roads, we also implement a project of a community development projects that linked to different communities in different areas in the country. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kwankwa.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Minister Mbalula, masiza apha eNtshona Koloni. Apha eNtshona Koloni kumbhodamu kuba oonoteksi balwa norhulumente walapha ngento ye-Blue Dot ekupheleliswe imali ibisetyenziswa to try and professionalize the industry. Urhulumente wephondo apha nomasipala bathi ingxaki ikurhulumente, national government ongazinamali. Le nto apha ingxaki khona ngoba ingenamsombululi nje into yokuba ichaphazela abantwana babe bebhale exams, kungakwazi ukuphangeleka, kungakwazi ukuya esikolweni ngakumbi ezilokishini. Ndifuna ukubuza ke ngoku le nto urhulumente wephondo bethule nithini ninani ngurhulumente at national level kuba le nto ibonakala ingathi izawuqhubeka okokoko asikwazi ukuthula kwingxaki. Siyabulela.
Honorable Kwankwa, that sounds like a completely new question you've asked. But I will ask the Honorable Minister to respond. The Honorable Minister.
Lungel hloniphekile Kwankwa, ndicinga bafana lo mbuzo wakho ngumbuzo omtsha. Into ye-Blue Dot ndingayiphendula xa unondibuza yona ngenye indlela, not namhlanje. Kakuhle ndikucacisele ukuthi siza kwenza ntoni uncedisana norhulumente wephondo ulungisa lo mba we-Blue Dot, ngoba le nto ye-Blue Dot yaqala ngapha eKapa and then bayikopisha ke kwezinye indawo. So ndiyafuna ukukuphendula kodwa ngumbuzo omtsha and uzawudinga into yokubana ndifumane yonke information ebalulekileyo malungana nalo mba ndikwazi ukuphendula kakuhle, kodwa ndiyayazi yona and njoku sizawungenelela uncedisana norhulumente wephondo ekulungiseni lo mba we-Blue Dot ephondweni.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, question number 905 has been asked by the Honorable De Freitas to the Minister of Tourism. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you, House Chair. Well, the question by Honorable De Freitas, it's about the amalgamation. According to our understanding, the process of amalgamation of the two entities, that is Brand SA and SAT, has not been stopped. The process is ongoing. There is work that is being done by both the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Government Communication and Information. And we are at an advanced stage in the discussion of these two. So the process has not been stopped as alleged by the member. It is ongoing. Thank you very much.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable De Freitas.
Thanks, House Chair. You know, for a few weeks now, the committee's been trying to get hold of the minister to join us in the committee to address this issue and a whole lot of other issues. Her response has been a delinquent showing us her middle finger and not attending to the committee. Now, the reality is that, unfortunately, the minister is not here. I'm very sorry that she's not, because she is not a princess. We don't have a monarchy. And in this republic, she is accountable to the committee and to this house. So the committee unanimously was put in a very difficult position to ask her to actually be summoned to come and subpoenaed to the committee. And she hasn't pitched. And I see she hasn't done the same today. So it is very, very disappointing. What I did want to say is this is one of the problems that are outstanding. What the Deputy Minister is saying is that this process is going on well. How is it then that the presidency has issued a call for new members of the board of Brand South Africa? Surely, if there's an advanced stage, you would not want to call for a new board to be called for this new entity, because it would be a completely new one with the amalgamation. So if the Deputy Minister could please explain that. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, as I've indicated, the government in January 2020 took a position that there is a need to reorganize and repurpose some of the entities, of which Brand SA and SAT became one of those. So the two ministers were then mandated to go and meet and look at what processes must be done in the context of the mandates, the operating models, the programs and the marketing approaches of the two entities, with a view of making sure that to then come back to cabinet and say what is workable, what is practical. A task team was then established, composed of the senior officials in the Department of Tourism and GCIS. The task team worked on the matter, came back to the minister and indicated that there are three scenarios that can be looked at. One scenario is the merger. The other scenario is either leaving the current situation as it is. And then the last scenario was to look at forming strategic partnership between the two. Finally, then this was brought to the attention of the ministers, two ministers, to make a decision, of which a decision was then made that the first scenario is the best scenario of the merger. So that officials are now working at what modalities, because they are established by two different legislation. The tourism, the South African tourism established by the Tourism Act of 2014, the Brand SA is established by a trust. So you need therefore to come up with a new legislation. For that to happen, doesn't mean therefore that the two entities must therefore not have their own boards in the current state. You need to have them proceeding and working until such time that we have got a legislation that is put in place to establish one entity. Thank you very much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Matumba. The Honorable Matumba. Seems as if the member is not
House
available.
Chair.
Yes,
House
Honorable
Chair, I will
Member.
take the point.
Honorable Member, do you want to take the question on his behalf?
Yes, House Chair.
Please proceed.
Brand SA have advertised for the recruitment of board members while South African Tourism have just appointed an interim board. This is a clear indication that there is no willingness to merge the two institutions. What are the timelines for this merger, Minister? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, as I've indicated, Chair, the term of the two boards have come to an end, and the process of finalizing the merger is still ongoing. So you can't therefore sit back and then not have boards on both sides. So the boards are there until such time that the legislation is put in place, of which a time frame will be determined by the manner in which all the government processes, including the processes here in the House, will be finalized. Once finalized, then you will then have to then reconstitute a new entity with a new board.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sitole.
May I take that one?
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Deputy Minister, if, for example, then the merger happens, say, next year, having established the board, what then will be the status of this board after the merger?
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Isn't it that the new legislation, once established, will be a transitional arrangement? And that transitional arrangement will then determine how to establish the two boards of the two entities, with the view of then coming with one single entity with one board. Thanks.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Groenewald.
Thank you, House Chair. As 53% of the total budget of the department is going to the entity Tourism South Africa, and the majority of the rest of 47% is going to assist SMMEs. There will be a greater demand with the merger between the two Tourism South Africa and then Brand SA. Would the Minister agree, or the Deputy Minister agree, that the department could easily be integrated in the Department of Small Business, thus dissolving the Ministry of Tourism, which will save taxpayers over 220 million rand a year? Thank you, House Chair.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Well, I'm not sure how is it related to, this question is related to the question of the merger of the SAT and the Brand SA, because I don't see any relation of the two. Because small business and whatsoever that you are raising is not related to, it's not related to the question at hand. But I don't see how do you measure tourism with SMEs, with small business? How do you do that? Because it's not relevant. So I'm not sure what is it that one is expected to respond, because I can't see the relationship of the two.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable members, question number 891 has been asked by the Honorable Chwaku to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. I now recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Swako has asked the department as to say, have we done any assessment on the just transition, as to say what impact will it have on the industrial development plans of the Republic? Yes, Honorable Swaku, a number of assessment has been done, both for the Presidential Climate Commission and also for the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. On the coal value chain, the transition away from coal, as well as the opportunities and cost associated with its transition, with this transition. A reference can be made to a policy brief for the Presidential Climate Commission, the Just Transition in Coal, Trade and Industry Policy Strategies by Dr. Niva Makhetla, that was done in September 2021, and also the coal value chain in South Africa that was done in July 2021. The DTIC has been leading in the green hydrogen commercialization approach, with the IDC performing the role of secretariat and chair of the green hydrogen commercialization panel. The panel consists of public and private sector stakeholders who have contributed to the value chain development for globally competitive green hydrogen economy in South Africa. The 5-year pathway of the commercialization plan is incorporated into the JET-IP, included are 17 projects at various stages of the development, which includes mobility, sustainability, aviation fuel, green hydrogen, green ammonia, and green steel. Sasol is a key player in the coal value chain with a focus of energy rather than electricity. The green hydrogen economy is a critical decarbonization pathway for Sasol and other hard-to-abate sectors. And in addition, the new energy vehicle carbonization pathway is critical to preserve industrial capabilities and employment in the South African automotive sector. 60% of automotive exports go to US, UK, and European markets. The announcements by these markets of the banning of internal combustion engine vehicles within the next 15 years requires a transition to a new energy vehicle manufacturing in South Africa, which will sustain jobs and economic contributions, as well as provide local vehicle capacity to support carbonization of our transport sector. So those are some of the assessment and the studies that you are doing, is to say, what is it that will be done? Are there any opportunities once we tackle the issue, once we get into this path of just transition? But we know very well as DTIC that this is not something that will just happen overnight. We still say we still have space to moderate the cost of the working, to the working people of the poor, is to say, what is it that can be done to make sure that the overall economic growth and the quality of life for the people is being sustained. So those are the assessments, those are the studies that we are getting into, Honorable Chairperson, when it comes to the issues of just transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Tswaku.
No, thank you very much, my Chair. I wanted to say to the Deputy Minister, other countries like the West now, they are ramping up the use of the coal. But here in South Africa, we are saying that we want to do, the transition. It's very weird, but in any case, in the the transition framework published in July by the President, the Presidential Climate Commission anticipates that the just transition will have a huge impact, not only on coal value chain, but on agriculture and well as motor industry. I think you've just alluded to actually there. But this is going to lead to a massive loss of jobs in areas where industries are concentrated. What are the alternative industrial activities that have proven the record that you are planning to usher to buffer against the pain of impending job losses? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Yes, I will agree with Honorable Tswaku as to say there are jobs that are being threatened by the just transition, but at the same time, there are a lot of a number of job opportunities, new types of jobs that are there. As I've said in my initial response, as to say, as DTIC, that's exactly what we are looking at. Yes, some of the coal workers will be affected, but when it comes to all the new opportunities, new kind of work that is going to be open, the opportunities that are there, that is exactly where we're saying as DTIC, as we are part of the IMCs with the relevant departments, the line departments that are leading when it comes to the issues of energy. We are saying we're looking at the opportunities, as to say, when it comes to the issues of creating jobs, when it comes to the assistance that we'll be needing to the new companies that will be getting into the new opportunities. They find us ready as the Department of DTIC. We are ready to assist them. As I'm saying, we'll be always taking a lead from the line departments as to say, where are we? It's not something that is happening overnight. Those are the opportunities that we are studying, and we are ready to take up the opportunities that comes, and we assist our companies to play a meaningful role in the economic growth of our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kulu.
May I take it, Honorable Chairperson?
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask the Deputy Minister whether a department has conducted any study on the impact of just transition in South Africa mining towns, especially those that are mining coal. If not, why? If so, if she can provide details on how this will affect the mining communities and industry. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, I think I've responded to this question because that was the initial question, as to say, are there any assessment and studies that you are doing? I even highlighted to say yes. The department, the presidency, the Presidential Climate Commission has done that study together with us as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Those are the studies that we are doing. It's exactly what the Honorable Member is saying. It's a lot of work that we are doing. Why you are doing that, why you are studying on that, is to make sure that as we plan for the future, as we get into the transition, we are there. We are ready to make sure that we assist our companies in making sure that they get into the new mode of working when it comes to the issues of just transition. But I can be happy, I can even share the document if ever the Honourable Member wants me to share with him that document, as to say what is the assessment, what are the studies that are taking place, because I truly believe Honourable Chair can assist even him to understand more and have more plans even from his side to say what is it that is awaiting us as we move towards the just transition as a country. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable F.J. Mulder.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The Honorable Deputy Minister, there is a wide consensus that the Just Transition Initiative should have the potential to address social, economic, environmental, and justice concerns. Considering the current positioning and skill levels of the South African economy, is the Minister of opinion that the South African industries and labor force will be able to make the required mind shift? And this is an important one, Honorable House Chair, to make a required mind shift and adapt to new requirements for a new energy environment. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Fortunately, what the Honourable Member is raising, it's not only peculiar to South Africa only, but it is a global phenomenon. We are learning lessons from all over. That's the way that we are heading to, and there's so much lessons that we are learning, but that is what the country is rolling itself towards. There's so many lessons, as I'm saying, that we are even learning from other countries as to say, how do we transit to where we want to. So it's one area. Thank you very much for him to raise that, but as I can assure him, we are on top of it, but we are going to be learning lessons as we go forth. And as we are saying, we are the department that is even open to the views and ideas whenever honourable members can have such, but that is what we are really on top of. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Tring.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, South Africa has some of the largest coal deposits of in the world. This can give us both a comparative as well as a competitive advantage from economies of scale over most of our counterparts. The ACDP has repeatedly said that beneficiation is one of the most underutilized policies of this government. As we export the bulk of our raw materials and import finished products, we cannot do the same with our coal, as the European and Asian nations hypocritically buy our coal to supply their coal-powered fire stations, while simultaneously telling us to shut down our coal power stations. Does the Minister or Deputy Minister agree that we cannot give away the beneficiation, comparative and competitive advantages of using coal as a catalyst for industrialization, and inform this House of the credible fact-based and government policy that was used to make the decision of a just transition initiative. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. That is a very new question, because the original question was to say, what is it that you are doing as DTIC in making sure that when it comes to the issues of just transition, we do this assessment and the studies in making sure that when it comes to industrial development, what are the plans that we're having for the country? Yes, as I've said, we have the leading departments when it comes to the issues of coal, where to use, when to leave coal and so forth. But as the member is saying, yes, as DTIC, we'll always be putting our eye on that. We'll always be making sure that no jobs are lost when it comes to the issues of transition. Even when there are lost jobs, what is it that comes into play? How are we upskilling the people in making sure that they fit to the new way when we talk to the issues of just transition? So we are saying, as DTIC, it's one broad topic, it's one broad journey that we are all in within the country, but as the government as a whole, we are working together. I've even mentioned that we sit in the IMCs, where it's the interministerial committees, where we look at all those possibilities and say, how best can we take our country forward? When we say just transition, what is it that we can do so that we don't cripple the economy, we don't even have much dent on the high levels of unemployment that we are having as a country. So those are all the things that we are taking into consideration as we move towards this just transition. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable members, question number 863 has been asked by the Honorable April to the Minister of Small Business Development. The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you so much, House Chair. I would like to respond to the question that has been asked by the honorable member in relation to the support that we are giving to small businesses, considering the criteria that is very complicated. The department understands the difficulties that our small businesses are facing whilst they try to access finance. To enable ease of access to finance, CIFA has implemented the automation of its own loan application process. Through the automated loan application system, small businesses can go anywhere within South Africa and be able to apply for loan funding using the online system, which means they do not need to travel to the CIFA offices to apply. Our blended financing instrument is aimed at lowering the cost of finance for small businesses through a mix of grant funding and loan finance. Honorable members, during the current financial year, CIFA is targeting to disburse about 1.4 billion rands to Black-owned enterprises and 610 million rands to youth-owned enterprises. This will be achieved through the implementation of the Township and Rural Enterprises Program, as well as through the wholesale lending and cooler credit guarantee loan channels. All of these efforts are complemented by an array of business support services that are provided by the Small Enterprise Development Agency in order to increase and channel the pipeline for CIFA funding. Thank you, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable April.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. I would like to know, Minister, has new and developing SMMEs been able to access this funding? And if yes, how many of them has been able to access this funding in the past financial year and in the current financial year? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, are you still there?
Yes, House Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes, please proceed.
We have supported 6,443 SMMEs, according to the reports that we got from the agency. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable de Villiers.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, for SMMEs, for small businesses, turnover is just vanity. Cash flow is king. So without cash flow and a payment record, SMMEs simply cannot successfully apply for any type of finance, be it from CIFA or from private sector. Yet the ANC government itself have not managed to pay 4.73 billion rand owed to businesses by the government within the 30 days specified period of the PFMA. What is the minister, being the Minister of Small Business Development, doing to ensure that SMMEs that do business with government gets paid within the 30 days as prescribed by law? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Indeed, the ANC government, a caring government, ensured that it put instruments in place. Hence, we are able to talk about the 30-day payment rule. What now we are doing together with the Department of Planning and Monitoring in the Presidency and National Treasury is to get National Treasury to tighten the guidelines, as we know that all the accounting officers now have a responsibility to ensure that the 30-day payment period is met. We still experiencing challenges, of course, as the honourable member has said, but now the teams are working on tightening whatever instruments that are there. We continue as the department to engage all the affected parties from departments to the provincial level to encourage them to pay, because failure to pay on time, it doesn't only affect the small business, but it affects all those that are relying on the services that are provided by the small business. We are working on amending the legislation, wherein we will then build and put an office of the ombuds, where we can be able to therefore say, how do you then put punitive ways that must ensure that small businesses are paid on time, which emphasizes compliance. But in the meantime, we're engaging all, and National Treasury is working on tightening those regulations. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matulelwa.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, izinto ezingumqobo ekufumaneni uncedo lwezimali zokuphuhlisa amabhizinisi akhasayo ziyanda ngaphezu kokuthi kwenziwe ngaphezu kokuthi kwenziwe ne-special unit umongameli esingenasidingo ke phofu. Yintoni enzima ukuyalela iminyango yezezimali ye-SMMEs uba mazenze ntoni kuba ziregistered zonke ezi SMMEs ezi-aplayayo? Enkosi, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili. Umhlonishwa uzawukhumbula into yokuba into ebangele umongameli athathe isigqibo sokufaka umnumzana uNkosi onguye ojongene nokulwa kanye nezi zinto zithi zime endleleni ukuze kuphuhla amashishini asakhulayo. Yinto yokuba ingxaki ezi sithetha ngazo are cutting across. For example, House Chair, if we are faced with a situation wherein a farmer has access to a lake or a dam but cannot utilize that dam because one does not have water rights or a license, it means they must go to the Department of Agriculture. If any other small business in the area or any other business in a municipal area wants certain land, there's the rezoning cost and the rezoning processes. If one wants to trade, they must get a permit. All these things, they start from local level to national level. Therefore, the president, as wise as he is, saw it important that as we look at this cutting across issues, we need somebody who will coordinate all of us and be able from his offices, the highest office in the land, to give a directive and therefore be able to say, let's join hands in ensuring that we deal with those. Yes, red tape is a crisis in our country. And this is why collectively as government, both at national, provincial, and local level, as I've indicated earlier, we are engaging to say, whilst we're in a process of amending the legislations, how do we sign agreements that must enable small businesses to be able to trade? At the center of it is South Africans that must buy from the local products, because there are existing businesses that are offering products, but South Africans are not supporting them. We urge bonke abahlonishwa ukuthi baqinisekise ukuthi osomashishini abasakhasayo kwindawo zabo bayasapotwa ngokuthi kuthengwe kubo ukanti naxa benikeza imisebenzi eminye korhulumente bancediswe ngolwazi ekufuneka belufumanele. Sisebenza sisonke ukuqinisekisa into yoba amashishini akhulayo ayaphuhla azawukwazi ukuthi adale amathuba emisebenzi 11 million nanjengoko isitsho i-National Development Plan. Ndiyabulela mhlangaphandle.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nkosi Lutuli.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, whether in light of this recent relief given to about 45 businesses, whether it's in a phased plan to continually support all the business to achieve growth targets and become economic and job contributors to the economy. If not, if no plan exists, why not? If so, what are the details and the timeline of such plans? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. With all due respect, I would request that the honourable member repeat the question.
Honourable Member, Honourable Lutuli Nkosi, can you just repeat the question and speak into the microphone, please?
Whether in light of the recent relief given to about 45 business, there is a phase plan to continually support all the businesses to achieve growth targets and become economy and job contributors to the economy. If not, if no plan exists, why not? If so, what are the details of the timelines and such plans? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair, and thank you to the honourable member. Let me first correct this. We did not support 45 businesses. We supported 145 businesses. And as part of the support that we provide to businesses, all of them, whether they're in a flood crisis or in any other crisis, for as long as they're beneficiaries of our programs, we provide pre-investment support, which is meant to ensure that before we disburse money, the company is ready to be invested in. The second support that we provide is post-investment support, which is looking at ensuring that the sustainability by the SMMEs that are there. I said earlier, the reason we are doing everything to support small businesses is because they have a critical role as defined in the National Development Plan. Now, if we're not going to ensure that the sustainability, it would mean that by 2030, South Africa will not be able to create the jobs that we're talking about. Therefore, where we have spent, we make sure that at least the jobs are saved and they can also create new ones. These are the plans that we have, different schemes that we provide to our businesses, the business viability program, the trap that I mentioned, wholesale and lending. For those that are getting tenders or any business, when they have a purchase order, they go to CIFA and they apply for the funding. And this is why, honourable members, we continue to plead for more budgets, because the more government says we are spending on infrastructure so much, it means there's a lot of SMMEs that require credit guarantee that we must provide to them. And all of this is meant to ensure that the sustainability. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, question number 881 has been asked by the Honourable E.M. Telezi to the Minister of Public Enterprises. The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you. Transnet subscribes to the government policy that is to move the transport of most goods from road to rail. There's no doubt that an excessive number of trucks pose a threat both to the conditions and repair of roads and to the safety and well-being of citizens, whether they are in other vehicles or on the road. With specific reference to the damage caused by the floods to the rail mode, Transport Freight Rail has been hard at work virtually the day after the floods to repair the damage caused by the KZN floods in April. The following is the progress made on some of the areas that have been receiving attention of Transnet. Firstly, the access to Bayhead, which is quite crucial to the removal of containers. This repair work is to attend to the washed away section of Bayhead Road and was completed in June 2022. Number two, alternate road access has been sought and identified, and that is under construction at the moment and will be completed by the 15th of December 2022. The state of repair of the one line to Gauteng, this has been opened since the 13th of June 2022. And the second line has been operating between Cato Ridge and Shellcross since the 30th of September 2022. There was also severe damage, as honorable members would be aware, and Honorable Buthelezi would be aware, to what is called the South Coast Line, parts of which are under the control of PRASA. And that bridge repair is going through the following process. On the 28th of September, the Transnet Freight Rail received and accepted a letter of appointment from PRASA for the phase one portion of the repair to what is called the Ilovo Bridge on the south coast. The delivery date for phase one is the end of January 2023. And the primary deliverable in this phase is for PRASA to review conceptual designs and selected preferred options. This will not release any capacity immediately on the line. And thereafter, phase two would follow once those choices are made, where the actual commencement of construction to repair the bridge will proceed and timelines informed by the selected design. The reunion section was restored on the 1st of August 2022, and this enables the important manufacturing operation of Toyota to the south of Durban to take their vehicles directly via rail to the port for export purposes. The back of port operations at Durban Harbour. In this regard, the Bayhead terminal has been operational throughout the period when the main line was closed as a result of the floods. It is used for massive evacuation from the port, and the clearance of import containers from the terminal that had become congested during the flood period and the damages caused. All these containers that were in the port before the floods have been evacuated or allocated out of the port. The availability of slots on the line between eThekwini and Gauteng, in this particular regard, the slot capacity has been released as of the 1st of October, and there are still negotiations going on between sections of business who want to utilize these slots and Transnet itself. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable E.M. Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Minister, with reference to Transnet opening up slots for third parties in an attempt to liberalize the rail network, which I believe will actually assist in terms of capacity and efficiency, what measures are there in place to ensure that it attracts investors? And secondly, considering the fact that there's been a reduction in the entity's maintenance expenditure, will the minister not regard as wise to redirect most of government investment in maintenance of the failing network? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. The slots, as I just indicated, Honorable Buthelezi, have now been made available, but there's a bit of a dispute about two elements. One is the time frame within which those slots are allocated, and the second is, if you like, the footstoots condition that has been attached to the allocation. So those are matters that TFR is currently reviewing, and there's no doubt that additional capital needs to be found both within Transnet and perhaps with partners in order to upgrade the rail network, and certainly in respect of important export lines like the ore line that operates in the Northern Cape. But these are matters that Transnet is looking into, and wherever possible, money is being directed towards these maintenance projects. But as you correctly point out, opportunities are also being sought for creative, constructive, and mutually acceptable partnerships between Transnet and the various customers who might be actually interested. So there are ongoing discussions in that particular regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable N.K. Dlamini.
Thanks, Chair. Honorable Minister, in light of the fact that the National Development Plan places an integral responsibility on Transnet for the delivery of a reliable supply of coal for ESCOM and for export, yet Transnet's market share in the movement of domestic freight indicates that rail is still not an attractive mode of transport. How will the selling of Transnet rail slots to third parties enable Transnet to provide efficient and reliable rail services for the movement of domestic freight, including coal, and subsequently lead to lower costs of rail relative to road? Of course, Minister, will understand the current volume of trucks is as a result of the war in Ukraine and the growth in demand for coal. But this is going to subside in the next 2 years. Can we then respond more along the lines of a long-term plan?
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
No, thank you, Honorable Dlamini. And those are important questions that apply to our logistics system as a whole. And as you point out, the responsibilities that Transnet has. So as far as the northern line or the coal line is concerned, this is a very different line from some of the other lines in the country, in that it passes through many communities, many areas, and is constantly under attack, either for cable as a result of cable theft or for other disruptive reasons as well. There's important partnerships that have been entered into with the coal mining industries in order to provide additional security along this line. And primarily, you'd also be aware that the shortage of locomotives or the repair to some of these locomotives, which has been held up by the lack of spare parts and technical capability by the original equipment manufacturers, have also been a factor. So the slots that we are referring to are largely, as you point out, for freight, and that is on the eThekwini-Gauteng line. As far as the coal line is concerned, this is still mainly under the operation of Transnet, and there's no doubt that, as you point out, the rail mode of transport provides the most cost-efficient way in which goods can in fact be moved. But Transnet has to now give attention, firstly, in terms of safety, together with other government entities along those lines. Secondly, continue to maintain those lines and improve the maintenance. Thirdly, solve the locomotive problem, some of which is internal, some of which is external. And fourthly, try to meet the volume requirements of the coal mining sector. But as you correctly point out, the price of coal has increased massively as a result of the war in Europe.
Thank you, Honorable
and
Minister.
that is not going to be the case continuously.
Thank you very much. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable F. Isaac. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, the so-called business forums that have held the construction sector hostage through illegal demands to be included in contracts appear to have extended their tentacles to Transnet. Recently, Transnet had to withdraw its teams from the site of a derailment after one of these business forums demanded business opportunities in the salvage operations. What action is the government taking to prevent organized crime by these mafia organizations from taking root at Transnet? Does the minister agree that these business forums are economic saboteurs, or is Transnet going to eventually turn out to be the next ESCOM? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Isaac, Transnet is not the next ESCOM. Transnet has its share of problems, but by and large, it is still an operational organization. It's got capabilities that few organizations in South Africa have. And thirdly, the answer that I read out earlier on in terms of the repair post the April floods is more than an adequate example of the kind of technical capacity that we have within Transnet. So we should respect that, and we should nurture it, and we should protect it. But secondly, you're right, the business forum phenomenon is being abused in different parts of the country. It's affecting not only Transnet, but many other businesses and enterprises, both in the private sector and public sector. And where there is illegal activity, there's no doubt that they should and can be called economic saboteurs. At the same time, there is a demand from communities that their businesses are operating from and within those communities, and workers from those communities should be involved. So there are many parts of South Africa where Transnet Rail in particular has come to arrangements with different communities in order to find work for members of the community, particularly in this period post the floods, but subsequently as well. So that's the positive side of getting local community involvement. And there's no doubt that there's the negative side when violence and other forms of enforcement are used. And this is where, finally, law enforcement agencies need to do their job and ensure that they bring this phenomenon of business forums and certainly their illegal activities under control. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable S. Ensort.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, the ACDP supports the road to rail policy to reduce the number of large trucks on the roads and to reduce the number of fatal accidents. But we're also acutely aware that Transnet was targeted during state capture, and as you pointed out, is also recovering from the KZN floods earlier this year. I was going to ask you, Honourable Minister, about the issue relating to criminal justice and the criminal syndicates and the forums, and that was covered by my colleague and responded to you. So if I may, with your permission, then ask about an issue you raised about the locomotives. When we did, and that is transpired in the state capture report about the South China Rail and the locomotive deal, is it foreseen that locomotives will be provided and that spares will be provided, given the fact that, as you pointed out, that is one of the major challenges in Transnet Freight Rail is the issue relating to locomotives arising from some of the suspect transactions that were highlighted during the state capture report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, Honorable Swart is my reference point for all of the activities under state capture. So he makes an important point. Secondly, in the last few months, there's been a lot of progress in negotiating with the original equipment manufacturers that come from China, but they come from other parts of the world as well, including the involvement of companies like Alstom, which has taken over some of the Bombardier facilities that we're operating in South Africa. So there's a bit more work to do in order to have consistent supply of parts, the usage of those parts by Transnet Engineering in a more efficient way to get what are called long-standing locomotives that are already in the country, but which cannot be utilized because of the lack of parts or inability to maintain and repair them. And thirdly, to ensure that the right kind of technical expertise is provided by the original equipment manufacturers, because one of the problems with contracts signed during the state capture period was that maintenance contracts and arrangements were not adequately made. At the same time, and this is my last point, there are outstanding supplies that still need to be provided by the various companies that were part of the 1064 deal, so to speak, earlier in the 2016-2017 period, and before that as well. And hopefully these discussions that have been taking place and the arrangements that are being reached will ensure that new locomotives also make their way into South Africa sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Members, question 864 has been asked by Honorable TV Mashele to the Minister, Honorable Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you for the question. The function of oversight of public entities have been maturing, hence the observance of governance improvements within the entities. One of the measures that we have put in place is to make improvement in the shareholder compacts with the entities. The shareholder compact is a legal requirement for Schedule 2 public entities, but we have also extended it to Schedule 3A public entities. And the improvements that we've made was to insert clauses, making it a requirement for the boards of the entities to conduct annual independent board performance assessments. We've also made it a requirement for the entities to contribute towards the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. One of the entities we're also busy with the project to investigate the options for the rationalization of the public entities in line with the work done by the Presidential State-Owned Entity Council. One entity, Schedule 2, the Independent Development Trust, is a very good example. It's supposed to be generating its own funds. And I trust we all know the sad history about the IDT. But since the start of the term of the current board in August of 2021, we have seen the entity that is surely making its way towards a fully financial sustainability. The board has put in place turnaround measures. They're cutting expenditure, focusing on essential operating requirements, and they've also recruited key personnel and strategic positions to drive the turnaround strategy. So the developments within the IDT with the turnaround indicate that IDT might even break even in the 24-25 financial year. And so maybe thereafter move towards a surplus. Then other entities like the construction, the CIDB board, we have gazetted the best practice fee assessment scheme in September 2020. And this has allowed the entity to generate more funds that will be used towards contractor development, which is being a missing element in the entity's operations because of funding. But the CIDB has been able to remain financially sustainable through the generation of the funds. The best practice fee assessment has gained traction, and they are generating enough funds to continue with their programs. Another entity, Agreement South Africa, they not only service the local market, but also international market. And the main requirement now for ISA is to market its services so as to ensure that those people and companies who want to introduce innovative building products and systems into the market knows about their offering. That is just some of the entities, but I will put some more in the written response. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable N. Tobongwan.
Thank you, Minister, for such a response on the question. My follow-up is, what are the developmental and other projects which entities are undertaking to ensure a revenue stream that ensures financial sustainability? And what is the developmental and economic contribution of these projects to the country? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. There are a number of developmental projects that we have introduced since early 2019. And we from time to time do provide the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure with an update. But they are making a major contribution towards the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. And it's different in different entities. In terms of the IDT, for instance, the IDT is very active in the social infrastructure space. And they have signed a number of new contracts with government departments. In terms of the CIDB also with a very young CEO that has just been appointed a few months ago, they're also running a lot of development programs, including the offering of internships for built environment graduates, not only just in the private sector, but also within government departments. So that's all part of the developmental plan that we have for all the entities under the oversight of Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable S.J. Graham.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, the IDT has been floundering since its inception. It's a social infrastructure implementing agent by design, but is still unable to earn enough external funding to support itself. The IDT board has now taken a decision that due to the poor condition of their own building, they're going to sell this building and rent premises for the head office in 2 regions. It beggars belief that as an implementing agent, the IDT is unable to maintain and or repair its own head office. Furthermore, that an organization that is failing to generate sufficient funding to be deemed a going concern would now incur an additional substantial cost to rent facilities when it can remain in its own current building at no cost. Minister, would it not make more sense for the IDT to use the money it is allocating for rental on repairing its own building and investing in its own assets, rather than adding another huge monthly cost to its unfunded budgetary expenditure? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Graham. Honorable Chairperson, we did engage with the IDT. It is a decision that was taken by the board of the IDT, and we have convinced them that they need to either delay the project, we need to look at getting a total facility management plan for the existing building, but they have reviewed the decision and they've not proceeded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable A.M. Siwisa. Are you here, Honorable Member? Honorable Siwisa.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I will take the question of Honorable Siwisa. It's Honorable Babalo Matulelo. Minister, the SOEs do not receive enough support from the department with specific reference to IDT, which has become clearly daily through reports that its mandate as an implementing agency for projects work allocation decreases and always sidelined, and preference is given to private entities like DBSA, KOGA, and the recent times ISA. The entity will not be able to sustain itself financially. What are the reasons for the IDT being sidelined? For an example of Telkom Tower project and the construction of Kagiso Borolong High School in Ngaka, Modiri Mulima region, where DBSA is the implementing agency. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We must understand that we have got 3 implementing agencies. It's the DBSA, KOGA, and IDT. And government departments make the choice which implementing agent they want to use. And these implementing agents, they also charge a management fee. IDT is competing in that space. And I know that IDT has just recently signed some service level agreement with the education department. But the bailout of IDT is 92 million rand per year. And to give the bailout to IDT, we need to get permission from National Treasury, which we received with conditions. So IDT had to comply with certain conditions. Even in the current financial year, we had to provide operational costs. IDT will apply for funding for next year, also for operational costs, because as I was explaining that they are making good progress in implementing their own turnaround strategy. But it's not a matter of give to IDT and not to DBSA or KUGA. They are all implementing agencies in their own right. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question would be asked by Honorable S.S. Zondo.
Honorable Minister, is your department has been able to pay all service providers within the mandated 30 days? And whether it has recently experienced any challenges regarding the financial control? If not, why not? If so, please provide the details. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just reported to the Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration this morning. We are very proud with our achievement in terms of paying service providers within 30 days. You can look at my Twitter account yesterday on a weekly basis. We put it out on the social media. Can you just listen? Maybe you can learn something. No one. Can you just listen?
Order, members.
Can you just listen?
Honorable
Can you just
Mafixen,
listen? You can't read. I know
Honorable
you can't
Mafixen.
read, but can you listen?
You are drowning the speaker.
It's stupid.
Order. There is a point of order. You, Honorable
Chair,
Mafixen,
no,
wait, before you proceed. You started to have your own engagement directly with the minister. After a second thought, you want to raise a point of order. What is the point of order?
So see.
Sorry, if the howling can stop.
Order is.
Chair, the minister decided to engage me. The point I made.
Don't lie. Don't
Point-
lie.
Honorable members, order. Let's hear the point of order.
You can't talk when you have howling like
Honorable
this.
Minister, you may
You can't
sit
talk when
down
you have
while he's
howling like
raising
this.
Point of order. Continue.
So the minister engaged me, not the other way around.
Engage you.
What I had just simply said, I'd like to read what the minister says, but she blocks people on Twitter. So we can't read what she says.
Thank you. No point of order. Minister, you may proceed. Order, members. Order, honorable members. There is no point of order. Honorable Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. We just reported this morning to the Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration, the progress that we've made with a system that we've introduced more than a year ago called Ria Batala. Our paying rate is between 95 and 98% per week. We publish on the website of the department every week our 30-day payments. The system that we've introduced, I've reported the success to Cabinet. We have shared the system that we are using with all other government departments. And even this morning in the Portfolio Committee of DPSA, we were commended for the progress that we are making with 30-day payments. So that is what we have achieved, Chairperson, and I'm very proud to say our achievement does help small and medium enterprises, especially that cannot wait for late payments from government. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, question number 896 has been asked by Honorable D.W. McPherson to the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition. Over to you, Honorable DM.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The response to Honorable McPherson will go as follows. Yes, the BBBE initiatives have demonstrated and they are still demonstrating the ability to create jobs and grow the economy. These initiatives are structured and implemented by the public and private sector through the guidance of codes of good practice. These initiatives are monitored in the codes of good practice towards ownership, management control, skills development, enterprise and supplier development, and socio-economic development. Honorable Chair, there are quite a number of programs that we are having as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competitions that make sure that we leverage on the issue of BBBE, where when we talk to the issue of broad-based empowerment, it's where we want to make sure as to say those communities that were previously excluded from the economy, they get that first, a very fair stake in the economy of our country. We have got programs like the Black Industrialist Program, and the achievements of the Black Industrialist Program that we are having is that I can just mention that for now, about 32 billion has been invested through funding initiatives with the DTIC, where nearly 800 Black industrialist businesses and Black entrepreneurs have been assisted. This funding has supported on the creation of new and dynamic enterprises in a number of critical value chains across the 9 provinces, crowding in additional investment from the private sector, as well as creating and saving nearly 120,000 jobs. We're looking at projects that cover a variety of range of products and sectors like food production, clothing, textile, and so forth. And over the next 5 years, the social partners, we will seek to invest in new industries which can build the local industry capacity up to 200 billion annually. Those are some of the achievements, as Honorable McPherson has asked us to say, what is it that we are benefiting? And from November 2021 to October 2022, 34 billion received, Black industrialists received the disbursements and reported the creation of 1,074 new jobs since being supported through the BI program. I'll just mention few programs. We have got the YES program, that is the Youth Employment Service. The YES initiative is an additional intervention with a specific objective to address youth employment. BBBE recognizes recognition is one of the enablers put forth by government to fast-track the achievement of YES initiative, which help a lot in the reduction of youth and unemployment in our country. For the period under the review, 18,494 new job opportunities were created for unemployed youth through this YES program. So again, that is some of the achievement. We cannot mention them all that Honorable McPherson has asked about. Black Export Support Program, again, this is one program that we are very proud of, where it is enabling, we see it enabling the participation of Black enterprises in export and international markets. The department has had this program as from 1st of November 2021, and we have supported more than 676 Black-owned entities through export awareness and export training initiatives. So those are some of the things that we are doing. We have also the NEF, that is the National Empowerment Funding, that is playing a very critical and a vital role when it comes to the issues of empowering Black people in making sure that they do get
Thank you,
that
Honorable
opportunity
Deputy
of playing
Minister.
their
Your
meaningful.
time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable D.W. McPherson.
Thank you, Chairperson. South Africa, which has been governed by the ANC for the last 28 years, currently has the worst unemployment rate post-1994. life for Black South Africans has got worse under your government. They are poorer than they were a decade ago, and poverty amongst Black South Africans has increased every year for the last 10 years. We also know that the cost of goods and services has skyrocketed in South Africa, making it harder for people to feed their families and put clothes on their backs. None of these realities are an act of God. They are a result of the ANC's economic policies of BE and localization. Instead of making the connection between your failed policies and growing Black unemployment and poverty, President Ramaphosa and Minister Patel have said the solution to this is simply to intensify BE and localization. So in other words, make things a lot worse, a lot quicker. Recently, ESCOM board member Mteto Nyati made the connection between these two realities when he said that the only way to save ESCOM was to do away with BE and localization. He is, of course, a very successful businessman, so he knows what he's talking about. Deputy Minister, do you not think that it's time to start listening to the Inyatis of this world and rid South Africa of ANC failed economic policies? And if you don't, how do you explain rising unemployment and poverty for Black South Africans, despite the policies adopted by your government 20 years ago that you said were going to do the very opposite? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable DM Kina.
Thank you very much, House Chair. If we are all living in South Africa and experiencing what we are all experiencing, really, right now, when was it? We're coming to the portfolio committee where we're talking to the issues of localization and what is it that we are doing when it comes to the issues of localization in the issues of creating more job opportunities in our country. I'm surprised really to hear Honorable McPherson saying we should do away with the issues of localization, issues of triple BE. Localization really, looking at what we have achieved through the issues of localization, looking at the master plans that we have come up with, where we include labor, where we include business, where government is in opening up avenues for all those emerging companies to get in making sure that when it comes to manufacturing in our country, that is what we are looking at. I'm surprised really if ever we can be hearing an honorable member saying those are the things that we should drop, whereas they are benefiting more especially the Black people of our country, those people who have been previously disadvantaged. So really, I'm not sure whether we're looking at our country through different lenses. Maybe Honorable McPherson is using another lens of which it's not the lens that we are looking at as to say how do we develop and how do we make sure that we marshal so many Black people to play a meaningful role in our country. But what I will say, Honorable Chair, thank you very much even to the private sector, to the big businesses for opening up when we sit down with them in making sure that we open up these avenues in making sure that we get more and more Black people when it comes to the issues of legalization, when it comes to the issues of Black triple BE, for them to be having a space to have a stake in the economy of our country. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable J. Hermas.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, while there are indications of progress, albeit very slow, on achieving triple BEE targets, women remains far behind from benefiting. Even the National Status Report confirms this. What are the additional interventions to catalyze benefit for women?
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Yes, it is true that women are lagging behind in terms of benefiting in the triple BE policies. It is a very concerning matter. Private sector, we have seen there's still a lot of doubt. They place that doubt when it comes to women-owned companies as partners on big transitions and subcontracting in general. Yet evidence shows that women-owned companies perform better and break even quicker. We got excited in 2020 when President Cyril Ramaphosa during the Women's Day announced the government that it would set aside 40% for women in public procurement to address this anomaly. Our task is to make sure that we monitor, we assess all the public procurements from the department to SOEs on whether they complied with what the announcement was done. So with this anomaly, with this concerning reality that we are faced with, it is all our duty in making sure that we make sure that when it comes to the issues of private sector, our SOEs, our departments, let us monitor and make sure that when it comes to the issues of women, comes to ownership, come to making decision-making, we find women up there. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Joaku.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, Deputy Minister, the clear distinct must be made between your government poor record in building up and supporting the Black businesses and the entry of enterprising Black people into various industries. You know, the DA's, racist attitude, which views any Black participation in the industry as tokenism doomed to fail. Your failure to build up and support Black businesses feeds into the racist view of the DA, which underpins the questions that they asked. Now, that, however, does not absolve you and your failures. What happened to the much talked about, this Black industrialists, I've been raising it within these committees that, you need to list the successes that have actually happened there. And one of the things that I said was that one, as long as we don't own means of production, we're not going to have anything. And which product that is standing out?
ICT, switch it off, please. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Yes, I would say there are a lot of strides that we have taken in making sure that we support Black businesses, as Honorable Swakwe is saying. We might not have reached where we need to reach. There's so much, and we are working with the various departments when it comes to that. But when he mentions specifically the program of BI, the Black Industrialist Program, I'm not sure. I'm happy because Honorable Swakwe is even the member of the Portfolio Committee, where just a few weeks ago we were there to come and showcase the work that has been done by the BIS program, showcasing the cases where people have benefited when it comes to this. Yes, no one can ever come here and say we've done it all, but to say we're not doing anything, really, I wouldn't agree. Yes, I know we are here. We are from various political parties. We need to politics somehow, somewhere and somehow. But really, to come here and mislead us to say there is nothing we're doing when it comes to the program of the BIS, the Black Industrialist, I will really totally disagree with what Honorable Swakwe is doing. But I am prepared, Chair, even if he didn't get the report. As the ministry, the department, we can furnish him with the report as to say, these are the Black industrialists, where you can go and touch them and interview them and see the contribution that the government is doing in making sure that our Black people do play a meaningful role when it comes to the economic growth of our country. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable F.J. Mutla.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The Freedom Front Plus is in support of broad-based economic empowerment of all people in South Africa. Do the Honorable Deputy Minister acknowledge that the initial intention of BBBE was largely hindered and even defeated by corruption, state capture, which resulted in a crippled Eskom, collapse of service delivery, and thus denying a large number of South Africans the opportunity to be educated, skilled, and employed? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable
Thank you very much, House Chair.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Again, I wouldn't stand here and say the issues of corruption, the issues of state capture did not have an impact on the good goals that we are having as a country when it comes to the issues of BBBEE. But we are saying that's one policy that is there to make sure that we level the playing field for everyone to play. When it comes to the issues of corruption, issues of state capture, it's us again as government that have even come up with all the commissions and the investigation just because we want to uproot all what hinders our progress in making sure that we serve the people of our country the way that they need to be served. So yes, partly I will agree with you, but we are saying this is the policy that is there, that we are saying it is here to assist in making sure that we level those playing fields to make sure that everyone does get that space to play in the economy of our country. So thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Question 859 has been asked by Honorable KRJ Mushwe to the Honorable Minister of Public Enterprises, but I'm not too sure he's sitting as a guest there. He's not part of the House. I'm sure Honorable Swart will take it. But over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Reverend Mishwe for the question. Komati Coal Power Station is now 62 years old and was put into operation in 1961 and essentially has reached the end of its operating life. Of the 9 original units, only 1 has been operating in the past few years. This particular unit, Unit 9, delivered only 120 megawatts at a cost approximating the cost of operating an open cycle gas turbine. That's turbines that utilize the diesel I was referring to earlier. Furthermore, it was no longer legally compliant from a safety perspective and was accordingly shut down at 12:41 on the 31st of October 2022. When coal stations reach the end of their economic life, they need to be decommissioned or shut down. The running of Unit 9 at Komati is not economically justifiable. Eskom is pursuing a strategy of repowering and repurposing these units to minimize the impact of the shutdowns on electricity supply, as well as minimizing the impact on workers and surrounding communities. All of that is part of the just energy transition that South Africa is committed to. In addition, the integrated resource plan assumed that Komati Unit 9 would be shut down in 2020. However, the operation of this unit was extended to 2022. As part of the Just Energy Plan for Komati, a number of objectives have been set to ensure, firstly, that the development of new generation capacity takes place, 100 megawatts of PV or solar voltaic plants, 60 megawatts of wind, 150 megawatts of battery storage. Furthermore, synchronous condensers will be installed to assist with the frequency control, which is essential for the transmission process to work. No Eskom workers will lose their jobs as a result of the shutdown of Unit 9. A training center is being established in cooperation with the Cape Peninsula University of Technology to train, reskill, and upskill workers from surrounding communities as renewable energy technicians. 5, Eskom has also established an assembly line for modular microgrids at Komati to further enhance job creation. 6, the development of new industrial development and enterprises in Mpumalanga for renewable components is also under consideration with the assistance of DTIC. In addition, various other initiatives will be taken to ensure energy production continues, and importantly, as we say, no one is left behind. The above is also supplemented by the Eskom initiative to make land available through an auctioning process around other power stations for the private sector to invest in renewable energy. It's estimated that this initiative alone will attract 100 billion rands of investment in Mpumalanga and add more than 2,000 megawatts to the grid at no cost to Eskom or the fiscus. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable KRJ Mishwa.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for that reply. The ACDP is obviously concerned about the job losses that will take place, even though I heard what the minister said about training and upskilling workers. We know that it will not be the same workers who are upskilled who will be needed when this transition has been made. We also know that a wind farm in Western Germany is being dismantled as we speak to make way for the expansion of a coal mine in spite of their commitment to transition to renewable energy. Does the minister not agree that maintaining our existing power plants and expanding some of our coal mines will help mitigate the challenges that ESCOM has of load shedding, particularly in the long term? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Honorable Mishwe, this is a new phase that the world is entering. And as you know, COP27 has just been concluded in Egypt in the past week or so. At the same time, the war in Europe has required various countries to make changes. And what South Africa is demanding of those countries is honesty, frankness, and a recognition and acknowledgement of the fact that some of them have had to make alternate arrangements to ensure energy security for their citizens and for their economies as well. As a consequence, Europe as a whole is making various adjustments, whether it is reopening an old coal-powered station, whether it is relying upon France for nuclear power, or on Norway for gas, which they didn't want to use initially. So these are the adaptations that are necessary for them as they see it in their national interest. Similarly, in the South African context, what we are talking about in terms of decommissioning or shutting down plants or repurposing them is a process that is going to happen over the next 30 to 40 years. Medupi and Kusile are only recently constructed. Kusile is still on its way. And they have a life of 40 to 50 years ahead of them. And they will continue to use coal that is available in Mpumalanga. Of course, we share your concern, as I indicated earlier on, about job losses. And we must now do everything possible to ensure that in one way or another, either through training, reskilling, or through other mechanisms, that workers who were originally employed at Komati do find alternative jobs and actually develop new skills for the decades that are coming ahead of us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable J. Chabalala.
Yeah, it's the last one for the day. Thank you so much, House Chair. Thank you so much for indulgence. Minister, we appreciate the response. I think my question was mainly on the Komati power station. And obviously, the fact that it was nearing the end of its life cycle. And this implies that Komati was a less efficient power station before its decommissioning. What were the cost and risk of running and maintaining an older, less efficient power station that made this decommissioning a viable alternative? And will this repurposing of Komati power station turn into a renewable plant, supply sufficient electricity for the long-term sustainability of this country and its economy? And if not really, Minister, how will this supply of electricity below the decommissioned capacity be addressed? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
No, the Honorable Shabalala raises important questions that have been addressed as part of the planning by ESCOM for the repurposing of the Komati power station, but also, as I pointed out, firstly, introducing new capacities for megawatt production through wind, solar, and battery storage as well. Secondly, the establishment of the academy and training center at Komati, and then bigger ones in Mpumalanga much later, is going to play an important part in ensuring that, as I said, workers are retrained and new generations of workers are trained in new technologies that are beginning to emerge around the world. Thirdly, power stations have a particular lifespan. as I pointed out, and 8 of the 9 units were already shut down at Komati. The last one, Unit 9, is the one that was shut down on the 31st of October. And it would have been both unviable in terms of cost, but also in terms of meeting legal requirements, for example, on emissions and so on, and therefore had to go through the shutdown process. For the information of the members, I think it's important to point out that both at COP26 and COP27, the Komati Just Energy Transition Project and Plan was the first one in the world of its kind. And similarly, the investment plan that South Africa presented to the world, and in particular to those who are willing to be part of the $8.5 billion grant and loan, largely loans to Eskom via the South African government, was also a first in the world. Indonesia is the second that is about to actually follow. And that investment plan for power station and electricity production, the green hydrogen projects that DTIC and others are working
Thank you very much,
on.
Honorable Minister. Your time is up. Thank you so much. The
Uh,
third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable OMC Mauto.
Thank you very
Honorable
much,
Mauto.
Honorable Command will take the question. Minister, soon after the announcement of the decommissioning of the Komati power station was made, there was a follow-up announcement on the loan received from the World Bank to assist with the decommissioning of this power station. What are the full details of this loan? Why is Eskom taking loans for the so-called Just Transition Program when the bulk of their responsibility for reducing greenhouse gases ought to lie with the biggest polluters in the world? Thank you very much.
Honorable the Minister.
No, we certainly agree with Honorable Komani that the developed world must take responsibility for historic contributions in terms of their industrialization and advancement of their economies to what is the current situation as far as carbon emissions are concerned. Secondly, one of the demands on which South Africa and many other developing countries led the discussion on at COP27 was precisely about the question of damage and payment. I think it's called something else, but you will notice in the media that became a central point of debate at COP27. Thirdly, the developed countries have accepted responsibility for at least committing themselves once again to contribute to both the loans and the grants that developing countries are going to require. And to some extent, some are talking about the private sector coming to the party as well. So all of this is what is involved. And the World Bank is part of this group of agencies that are providing both grants for certain types of projects, particularly in relation to skills development, but also very cheap loans, which are not available in the marketplace, to governments of South Africa and to Eskom via the government in order to execute projects of this sort. So the demand from the Western world or the developed countries for their contributions in various forms must continue, and more noise needs to be created in that particular regard until they meet their commitments over the next 10 or 15 years as the world goes through the energy and climate change transitions that are necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable E.M. Buthelezi.
The Honorable Minister will understand that sometimes when we ask questions here, we ask on behalf of the public, we're not privy to some information. And when they hear about issues of the commission some power station within the context of our energy crisis, then the question is government not considering a possibility of withdrawing from some of our commitments in supplying our neighboring countries with power, yet we've got a problem ourselves? If you can explain that, thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thanks to Honorable Buthelezi, we certainly understand why you have to ask these questions. But remember that, Honorable Buthelezi, that the relationship between South Africa and the neighboring countries is very much a synergistic one. In other words, there are contracts that Eskom is expected to keep to in terms of supplying to our neighbors. And that those supplies, I don't unfortunately have the numbers in front of me, but don't amount to any large number. It's a few hundred megawatts that goes to different countries. But South Africa is also part of the Southern African power pool. And we are also drawing from that power pool. So we draw power from Cahora Bassa, for example. And that gives us some, 900 or more megawatts, or 1,300 megawatts at this point in time, if it's in full operation. We are also in the process via Eskom to negotiate with those countries that have, inverted commas, surplus megawatts that could be supplied to Eskom and to South Africa as well. And there are business entrepreneurs, one of whom I spoke to yesterday, who are also saying, I have X to offer. In this instance, a couple of 100 megawatts. What is South Africa saying? So that's up to Eskom. They must engage in the necessary negotiations. And if the price is right and the logistics works out, South Africa can buy those extra megawatts that are actually available. So we have a healthy role, both in contributing to other countries' well-being on the one hand, but we also draw on their resources on the other hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I would like to draw to your attention that as a result of the urgent question that was put before the other questions that were scheduled, then we will proceed with the questions. Question number 865 has been asked by Honorable S.T. Sikleko to the Minister of Tourism. For 30 minutes, honorable members. Thank you. Order, honorable members. No, order, honorable members. Honorable question.
Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Minister. Is it now? Are you a minister?
No, Honorable Chairperson,
It's a
I
point
rise
of
on a point
order.
of order.
Okay.
I rise on a point of, Honorable Chairperson, it's normal that if we have questions that are added to the question paper, we do them after the 3 hours. But today we did it within that time. So I don't see any need for us to sit for another half an hour here to do questions. Thank you.
There is another order, point of order, Honorable Mafixen.
Thanks, Chair. I rise on Rule 137(5)B, and it says that an additional 30 minutes must be added. It's not may. So it is instructive that the extra 30 minutes must be made. So we must proceed with the questions. Thank you.
Honorable members, I was just about to read the rule. That brings us to question number 865 that has been asked by Honorable S.T. Sikleko to the Honorable Minister of Tourism. The Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister. Honorable Deputy Minister, you may proceed to respond.
No, thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. And thank you very much, Honorable Kweko, for the question. Indeed, the department, in terms of the Auditor General's report, it did not achieve 11 targets, of which the main cause of the failure to achieve the 11 targets were as a result of procurement. The promotion and support of the small businesses and those owned by historical disadvantaged individuals, women, youth, and people with disability, as a specific part of the important programs in the department's agenda. We therefore view this as one of the key factors that we need to pay special attention. The report from the Tourism Transformation Council of South Africa
continues to show that transformation in the sector is seriously lagging behind. It is therefore in this context that the intervention by government by providing dedicated support will be necessary, because without it, we'll not be able to achieve the transformation of the sector. To avoid the delays, therefore, in the implementation of programs that begins to address the issues of SMEs, youth, women, and people with disability, we have adopted as a department a plan to start with procurement ahead of the coming performance period. But more importantly, we are also engaged on a program to capacitate and train the supply chain unit in the department, so that we are able to make sure that we achieve that. And lastly is that some of the non-achievement, it says the results of the non-response from various stakeholders. So we'll be developing programs of campaign in terms of communicating some of the programs and the projects that we are running as the department, so that when we advertise, we're able therefore to get the necessary responses from various groupings, especially women and youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable DM. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable ST Sikleko. Honorable Kleko. Any member of the ANC wishes to take a question? Okay, we shall skip then. Let's, we are proceeding, honorable members. Honorable April, do you want to take the, okay. I would have allowed you to come back. I think that will be proper. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable H.S. Winkler.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, considering Minister Sisulu's perpetual absenteeism at portfolio committee meetings, and that she has openly expressed that she considers her deployment to the Ministry of Tourism a demotion, it's no wonder that the department is underperforming. Tourism in eThekwini municipality is in a death spiral, with a reported 82% decline in tourism to the city. Durban's famous Golden Mile, Mshlanga beaches, Durban Harbour, Amamzimtoti beaches are being forced to close at short notice because of high E. coli levels caused by ongoing catastrophic sewage spills from decrepit pump stations in the city. As the National Ministry of Tourism in South Africa, what has been done to address this tourism death spiral in eThekwini, and what is the emergency action plan going forward?
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, I need to be called. I can't just stand up for the sake of standing up. No, thank you very much for the question, Honorable Winkler. You will firstly know that tourism is a concurrent function. National government's main function is policy making. The implementation of some of the work that you are referring to is the responsibility first of the provincial government, which in this case is KZN. Secondly, is the responsibility of the municipality. In this case, it's a eThekwini municipality. And then the spillage, it's got nothing to do with the Department of Tourism. It's a matter that belongs to water affairs and sanitation, but also a matter that belongs to the local municipalities. But we have taken initiatives. Ours is to engage. We've taken initiatives, we've engaged with the municipalities to ensure that they try to fix the problem of the water spillage. As of last week, I was discussing that matter. You will have heard the mayor a day before yesterday was responding in terms of what is it that they're doing to make sure that by the 1st of December, the issue of the spillage, the issue of the ecoline, the issue of the beaches that are closed is being addressed so that when you go into the festive season, you ensure that all those bottlenecks of the ecolines, of the beaches that are closed are resolved. So we are pushing, we are working with the municipality. We believe that we are on course by the 1st of December. We'll be able to have a different results altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable April.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to ask what measures will be put in place to strengthen internal controls, particularly as it relates to supply chain management and compliance with key legislation as mentioned by the Auditor General of South Africa, amongst other things. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
You'll recall that after the Auditor General's report was released, we presented a plan as a department on what measures are we putting in place. One of them, we undertook a risk assessment of making sure that we have got efficient internal control systems so that we're able to root out maladministration, inefficiencies in the system. Priority was placed on viewing interest risk that are existing in terms of the control and strengthening of the mitigation by making sure that we address the areas of weaknesses that are flagged by the OG General in terms of other oversight responsibilities. The areas that we identify were inadequate procedures that the Auditor General identified with control weaknesses, and we have put preventative measures in terms of making sure that we control that. We have also ensured that we put up early warning systems that will able to make sure that we're able to intervene from time to time without waiting for the Auditor General to audit. We'll also be doing promotion of sound practices through the periodic quality review so that we make sure that we identify all the high risk areas and be able to make sure that we intervene where there are high risk areas and be able to detect it. As you know, we've received unqualified audit this financial year with very few matters of emphasis from the AG. We are working towards making sure that we address those so that we're able to obtain a clean audit at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Matumba.
Minister, reading from the audit report, it is clear that your ministry is on autopilot and leaderless. You are not available to account to Parliament, and the Portfolio Committee on Tourism is not sitting because you are refusing to attend. You even undermined the summons to you under Section 56 of the Constitution. So, our question to you is simple. If you are no longer interested in the job, why don't you simply resign? Because you don't want to account on anything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Before the Deputy Minister respond, Honorable Mashiko, you've got a point of order?
No, yeah, my point of order, Chair, is that the Deputy Minister is accounting and it is said is not available to account. The person who raised that point is not here to answer that question. He is accounting. Here he is.
No, but
he's sitting here.
No, Honorable
He's out of order. That
Honorable
man.
Mashiko, That's a point of debate. Let's give the Honorable Deputy Minister to respond.
Well, I've always been available to the Portfolio Committee at all time when the Portfolio Committee needed me.
Order, Chair. Order, Chair.
Honorable Matumba, point of order.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, this question is asked in accordance with section 92, subsection 2 of the Constitution, which simply says that members of the cabinet are accountable collectively and individually. Now, this question is for minister to account individually to Parliament. So this question will require the minister herself to answer in accordance with section 92, subsection 2. Thank you.
The minister is here.
No, honorable members, let's allow the deputy minister to respond.
And it's accounting in Parliament.
Honorable Madam, I've indicated that I'm here in the House.
You are not a minister, you are deputy. The question is to the minister.
Honorable Matumba, don't do that.
Yeah, but as you have said, we are, as the members of the executive, individually.
On a point of order, House Chair. On a point of our order, House Chair. On a point of order.
Honorable, may I take the first point of order from the House, then I'll come to you, honorable member.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. As the former member said that the Constitution provides that the executive must account. It is true, but the very same Constitution provides that the Parliament can make its own rules in order to regulate its own affairs. So one of the rules is that when the minister is not available, the deputy minister can take charge of the question asked to the minister. So they're out of order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That point and the rule is sustained. Honorable Tlangwini, your point of order.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Number one, House Chair, you are very quick to call out members of the opposition, but very slow to call out members of your party that are just standing up and talk. And that is pointing out to your biasness. Look now, I'm being interrupted yet again by a person that from your party. So please, can you please just follow the rules yourself as the presiding officer to stop being biased when taking up the chair to the ANC. Number two, the Minister of Tourism must stop going out and campaigning for presidency. She must come to this house. She must come to this house and come and account to this house. She must leave those things.
Honorable Tlangwini, your points are noted. The first one, the rest we may proceed. Honorable Deputy Minister.
My understanding, Chair, is that the issue that it was firstly raised by Honorable De Freitas, then Honorable Winkler, and now Honorable Matumba, is that the matter was comprehensively discussed at the Portfolio Committee. And subsequent to that, the Portfolio Committee resolved that the matter should be brought to the attention of the Speaker. And that's where the matter it is. Why now being raised in the matter that is not relevant to it? One doesn't understand why. Because we are dealing with the questions on the performance of the department in the context of the targets that were not reached, which therefore we're explaining what has happened. What are we doing to make sure that going forward, those procurement processes that has made us not
Thank you,
achieve
Honorable
those
Deputy
level
Minister.
targets,
The time is
we are
up.
able to
Thank you
achieve
very
them.
much. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable I.M. Groenewald.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I know the general sentiment is sad that the minister could not be here. And the sentiment is sad that the Honorable Deputy Minister doesn't know the difference or doesn't know the correlation between small business and tourism. But nonetheless, let's ask the question. Honorable Deputy Minister, the Minister during discussions on the AG report said that she committed to pursue cases against officials involving corruption and fraudulent procurement. How many cases have been reported to the SAPS and how many of those been successfully prosecuted? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much. Well, it's very much misleading to say I don't know the relationship between small business and tourism. It's very misleading. I never said that. I said, what is the relationship between the merger of Brand SA and SAT and small businesses? Because the question was not related. That was the issue.
Honorable Chairperson, point of order.
Honorable Deputy Minister, take your seat and we take the point of order.
Chairperson, the Deputy Minister is engaging me. Can I answer him, please?
No, he's responding. Honorable Minister, you may proceed. Deputy Minister, you may proceed.
No, thank you very much. Well, I'm not in a position to give the exact figures, how many officials have been suspended and how many are in, how many cases have been reported to the police. We do have those figures. We can be able to provide them in writing. How many cases have been opened, but those are not related to the current AG's report. Because in relation to the current AG's report, we don't have any irregularities, we don't have any wasteful expenditures, and therefore there's nothing related to that. But the cases that we have are cases relating to 2018-2019 financial year, which are projects that were implemented somewhere in 2012, 2013, 2014. Which were then picked up by the AG in the audit report of 2018-2019. We then constituted a forensic audit, which report then came up to say there are projects that were not completed, but money was spent. And we're able to identify those officials, we charge them, we open cases so that we can be able to provide the details if a member needs the details in terms of names and the cases and the case numbers and all other related matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Honorable members, Rule 138, questions to the ministers. I think it's important that we just remind ourselves. A minister may authorize his or her deputy minister to reply to a question directed at that minister, provided the deputy minister is able also to respond completely to any permissible supplementary questions that may be asked. That was the rule that has been used. Honorable members, that concludes the question time and the business of the day.
You sure you don't want to add more time?
Long leave the House Chairperson.
Women